Let's tee it up and get rolling on a Thursday morning, a couple of days away from Carolina and Georgia. Hope your Thursday morning's off to a good start. Tim Hill, Patrick Bennett, and Jim Jensen with you this morning. Patrick, how's your Thursday morning going so far?
We are 0 days away from Washington football team and New York Giants.
It's
game day.
That means you're good?
I am okay. We don't have our quarterback. We lost losing your quarterback in the first game is a tough pill to swallow, but I'm excited to see Taylor Heineke. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
But wait a second. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the Washington football team's quarterback? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, I wanted Matthew Stafford. I wanted us to be just super aggressive and get Matthew Stafford to be super aggressive and trade up for Justin Fields or something along those lines. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was the best of all of the, I guess, second tier options, because at least he's someone that will give you some big time games, and you go into any game feeling like if Fitzmagic shows up, we can win this game. Whereas if we had gone after an example would be like Andy Dalton, who's just always average, I wouldn't have been excited. But Fitzpatrick, it won't be long, Jen. It won't be long. There's not a Bears fan in the world that's happy with Andy Dalton right now. I'm giving it a couple weeks. It's not going to be long before Justin Fields is in full effect there. But that's the point. He runs a boring offense, and you're going to be piecing together games and hoping that the defense carries us every week, which just doesn't happen in the NFL anymore. So at the very least, I was thinking if this defense carries us through the season, gets us in the playoffs, I like our odds with Fitzpatrick in any one game do or die situation. But now he is out for at least 8 weeks, so we will see what happens. But Heineke played awesome in the playoff game last year. Played pretty well when he came in most of the second half, or part of the first half, and all of the second half last week. So yeah, we'll see what we got. I don't know. Not high expectations.
Sounds about right.
Daniel Jones, I got to relook at what the record is, but going into whenever he played us last year, he was 2-15 against the entire NFL and 5-0 against Washington going into our game last year. For some reason, he's just lights it up against us, and I don't know why.
That is a rough stat.
Yeah.
5:11 a.m. is the time Gamecock Larry weighed in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line this morning. Said, good morning, Jen, Bill, and Tim. Patrick, Bulldog fans. Gamecock Larry is coming to play and win. Not saying we're going to win, but we will play hard. It'll be closer than you think. Interesting. And just a minute ago, Nick hit us up on the text line. Good morning, guys. I want to give Gamecock Larry a special shout out this morning. You let him know Nick said go Dogs. There will not be a shootout in Athens. One team won't even score. Dogs win 38-3. Nick, did you hear what you said about one team not scoring? And then you said the final score is going to be 38-3.
One offense not scoring.
Defense is going to kick the field goal? Is that how that's going to work? You're going to get a pick 3?
I don't get pick. Do you attribute the field goal to the offense, though?
Yes. The offense sets up the field goal.
Yeah, but the special teams scores the points.
Okay.
Against Clemson, the Clemson offense did not score a point, right?
No, they scored 3. I would never do that.
That's disrespecting special teams.
Nick came back and said, one team won't get a touchdown. He also picked East Carolina to win against South Carolina, so keep this in mind. Maybe this has Gamecock Larry fired up already. We might as well get right up to the Love Chevy phone line to get into it. Our favorite 87-year-old caller. Why would we make him wait longer? That would just be rude.
Good morning. Who was that guy just said one team wouldn't score a touchdown? Nick?
That was Nick.
Is that his name?
Special shout out to you, sir. He gave you.
Well, Nick, I will guarantee you will not score 38 points on our defense if that's what you're talking about. Our defense has played pretty good ball. I'm not playing they played Georgia defense, but they played pretty good ball. And we was holding something back last weekend. I wasn't going to talk no trash. But she started saying this about the Bulldogs. Old Root Hogg and the Legion of Doom been calling me and all them Bulldog fans up in Georgia and all. They've been calling me here the last couple of days, but they wasn't calling too much last week. Let me tell you something. I don't know. No, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna. But you done got me kind of fired up. And you say there won't be a shootout. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. It ain't gonna be no low scoring game. When you score, we're gonna score. But I think we're gonna score first. And I'm gonna tell you what the score is gonna be in the shootout. 44-41 Gamecocks. If you don't like it, call me back. Boy, I tell you what, y'all done got this old Gamecock fan. I wasn't going to talk no trash because it's going to be a game. But I believe we're going to show you something. I know we're going to show you something. And Tim, I didn't mean the lane train. I meant to say the Shane train.
That's what I figured.
Shane train is on the way. The Beamer steamer's coming through Athens. 44-41 Gamecocks. 44-41 Gamecocks.
Gamecock Larry, I wouldn't be doing my job if I let you ride off in the sunset here without an explanation as to how South Carolina will score 44 points on Georgia.
Let me tell you. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Juju. Well, we're going to start Zeb. I wasn't going to tell you this till tomorrow, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. We're going to start Zeb. And Zeb is an old man, and he's going to show you that old experience, that old man playing. And he's going to get about 2 or 3 touchdowns right away. And then they're going to Juju, Kevin Harris, Jaquan Ray, what's that other name? Oh, yeah, Marshawn Lord. And they might even bring in our rookie quarterback. Because it's going to be a shootout. I wasn't going to say this, but I'd rather have a shootout in a win than a loss in a close game. So, in other words, I ain't predicting. Well, I just did predict.
Mm-hmm. I heard it.
Okay, 44-41 Gamecock. That's what I got for you. Write it down. Okay?
All right, Gamecock Larry. Appreciate the phone call this morning. He got himself all cracked up there at the end, Patrick. If Carolina scored 44 points this weekend, that would be maybe the most amazing thing I've ever seen at this point. Would you agree with that? I would say double digits at this point is a success to some degree from an offensive standpoint. If you can score a touchdown and a field goal after we saw Clemson score a field goal, after we saw Carolina score 13 points against East Carolina from the offensive perspective with the pick 6 there, adding 7 more. I'd say that's probably a reasonable expectation, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad to say it, but an offensive touchdown against the starting defense of Georgia would be not – I don't even know how to say it. It wouldn't be a success, but it would be – I mean, it would be a good thing. Probably better than most people would expect. I was trying to think about it. Like, I played lacrosse, I played defense, and we would set in the pre-game meetings, that like during film and stuff, they would set a number, and they would tell the defense, hey, if you give up 6 goals, less than 6 goals, this game is on the offense. If they can't score 6 goals on this team, that's their fault. What would Clayton White tell his defense against Georgia? This is how many points we can give up and realistically have a chance to win this game. Is it? I mean, is it 14? Like, I don't know what it is.
Right.
Nick said this is Nick's last text. He keeps following up, and he said this is the best defense Georgia's ever had. It's not that much of a stretch to say that. I mean, I don't know my Georgia history, but this is the best defense that Kirby Smart has coached since he's been at Georgia. It's NFL player after NFL player after NFL player. They are freakish, and they're not even fully healthy right now.
And they are just 2 weeks in, and they played really, really well. So let's keep that in mind and not get too far in front of ourselves. But we do have to deal with reality in the show, and that's why we bring that up. Jason asked, who's QB1 for Georgia? The word from yesterday after practice from one of their offensive linemen, I believe it was, is that both JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett, the fourth there, are splitting carries. I think there was another Georgia player who was asked about Stetson Bennett and his back injury that Kirby Smart mentioned earlier in the week. He's like, I didn't even know he was injured. But the quarterback situation there at South Carolina, not the only ones in the SEC, both Florida and Tennessee. Interesting quarterback situations going into this week. Tennessee, not that interesting because they're playing Tennessee Tech, but Florida, a little bit more interesting. Patrick, what are you expecting to see for the Gators against Alabama this weekend, especially at the quarterback situation?
I'm super fascinated. I actually think Anthony Richardson gives them a better chance to win that game. I don't know if Dan Mullen's willing to pull the trigger right away. I mean, Emory Jones has been the presumptive starter all offseason, and seems like he deserves that chance. He hasn't played bad by any means, but Anthony Richardson, that size, and he is such a freak athlete. And he's got, I mean, Emory Jones is a strong arm, but Anthony Richardson can rip it. I genuinely think he gives them a better chance. So I'm fully expecting to see both, mostly because I don't think it's going to be a particularly close game. But I'm kind of thinking Emory Jones starts. It could be 14-0, 7 or 8 minutes into that game, and Emory Jones gets another couple drives to try and put something together. And by the end of the first half, we might see Anthony Richardson. But I do think, just based off everything from the offseason and what we've seen and heard, I do think he's going to give his veteran quarterback a chance.
I'm with you on that, Dan Mullen, and giving Emory Jones, and the veteran quarterback here is a guy who's been in the program a lot longer than Richardson you're talking about. Hasn't started that many games and might not get the opportunity to do that with what you've seen from the backup there. 803-404-6100 is the number. We'll keep it going on the Love Chevy phone lines to the other end of the experience spectrum. Gamecock Lucas joining us this morning. Hello, Lucas.
Good morning. So I'm pretty much, after I was watching the East Carolina game once again last night, didn't go to bed till 11, but watching the game, it was that we weren't playing the same as we played with the first team we played. And I think that it's just going to be that we're going to beat Georgia, but all these other teams out there, I think they should watch their back, because I think we're going to show them up like 8. Texas A&M, I think we're going to beat them because they're playing Colorado, and they really didn't. They beat Colorado by what, 3? I mean, Georgia, we're coming for you. Florida, you better watch your back. All these big teams, because we are becoming a better team. And the one team that I'd like to shout out to, Clemson. We are after Georgia. This is going to show who's better, because you couldn't even score a touchdown on Georgia.
Lucas bringing it strong this morning. Hey, man, 11 o'clock. That's too late to stay up. You got to get to bed a little earlier than that. I get the film study, and I can appreciate the film study, Lucas. We got to get to sleep a little earlier.
I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock tonight.
Attaboy. Way to go.
Good job.
Good Lucas. Good to hear from you. 803-404-6100. Again, the number into the program. Lucas calling everybody out. It reminded me of listening to defensive coordinator Clayton White yesterday. Said Aaron Sterling is that guy he would like to have with him if there's any kind of issues. And then he ended up phrasing it, if he has to walk down a dark alley and feel a little bit better about it, it would be Aaron Sterling, Brad Johnson, and Sherrod Green on his squad there, and he'll feel pretty good about it. Sounds like Lucas is just feeling pretty good about the Gamecock football team in general, especially after doing a little film study last night. Impressive stuff. We'll see where the show takes us. Jason says, I do like that kid. And Waddy says, is Lucas Gamecock Larry's grandson? He is awesome. Anthony says, this kid's amazing. Good morning, everybody. Glad we're off to a good start this morning. It's a game day for Patrick and his Washington football team. Maybe that'll keep him in a good mood. Anthony B. weigh it in. Lucas is the man. Gamecock Larry has some competition. How about that? You guys don't become rivals, all right? Same team there. You guys focus all your energy outward and not inward. Let's do that one. Cool Care Heating and Air text line, Gene. Gamecock Larry and Gamecock Lucas, kinfolk for sure. You mentioned that Gamecock Larry is the man. Anonymous texter, not so kind. I don't know who's more delusional, Lucas or Larry. That's where we are this morning. That's where we are. Richard, an interesting analogy. Carolina is like a dog that's been caged against its will. We're going to come out Saturday night and beat Georgia. You see these kids playing at a higher level now because of structured and better coaching. Beamer has found a way to tap into that dog inside. They finally get a chance to show their talent. One time we used to play down to the talent of the opposition, but now we're going to see them rise to the occasion every game. Don't be shocked Saturday night when you see us suck the life out of that Georgia team. That's from Richard. Fired up at 6:21 a.m. on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Thursday before Carolina, Georgia, and a 30-point spread. Whew. A lot of confidence this morning, Patrick. What do you think?
Ooh, we just got some pictures from Wyoming too. This has been an incredibly active first 20 minutes of the show. I'm loving it.
I'm with you.
A lot of optimism too on a Thursday morning.
We'll see if we can keep it going. That's probably because you came in a good mood today, Patrick. You have that kind of impact on the show.
I mean, I did just say we'd be lucky to score a touchdown. That would be a success.
Let's go to commercial before it gets worse. It's the early game. It's 107.5 the game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge.
Look at that, Anthony. A good look. Live chat comment there.
Won't get to watch a second of it.
So what will you be doing? Checking your phone?
I don't know. I might not even check it and just hope for the best.
Hope that you can watch it later without knowing what happened?
No, I won't end up watching it. I just wait
You
for
don't
the
have a plan?
whatever. I'm gonna be stressed if I'm just sitting there watching a game cast all night. So I'm gonna try and force myself to not check until it's like it's a 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock kick. I'm assuming 8:20 kick. I won't check my phone until 10. I don't think I have too many fantasy implications either. Let's see. Two and one. Bless you. 2-1 in fantasy opening week.
No, I did not see that trap. I did see, is it Michael Scott Keegan? Is Michael Keegan Scott? But did you see that at all, Patrick?
No.
I think he's like the guest speaker on campus this weekend. Franklin had him pose as himself, do a little team meeting. They look so similar when he does it. It's hilarious.
So weird. James Franklin came into the season in a hot seat, and they win 2 games, and now they're going to protest him having interest in a job. He's probably a good fit for it. My LSU fan cousin kept sending me tweets about thinking that Dan Mullen's going to have interest in that job and want to leave Florida for it. What does it say? He's frustrated with the Board of Trustees in Gainesville. There's behind-the-scenes tensions, and his quarterback mind will be enough to keep the talented California quarterbacks in California. Eric Bieniemy wants that job, apparently. It's the only college job that would interest him. And what's the other? Oh, Desmond Ridder, the Cincinnati quarterback, assured Bearcat fans that Luke Fickell's not interested. So I don't know where we're at. Who's the interim coach? It's not Graham Harrell, is it?
What's that?
Is Graham Harrell the interim?
I don't know. No, he's not. Dante Williams, I want to say.
Is that their defensive coordinator?
Yeah, older dude, I think.
39.
Yeah, Dante Williams. Looks like he might not be an older dude.
Yeah, 39.
Morning, Trey. I didn't even realize the Mets 30 for 30 was out last night. Good to hear that it is good. I'll definitely check it out. Jenny, you got any sound ready?
I got other things I need to be worrying about, not your stupid stuff. No, I'm kidding. I have cuts 1 through 5 right now.
All right, let's do something to start, please. Let's see what we got here. We'll do number 4, please.
Okay, straight in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. bed and come back in.
All right. Not at all, Travis. Not at all.
It's challenging. I mean, they look like I just came from the Panthers. Like I talked to some of those guys early in the week. I was like, "You're doing the protection plan. It's an NFL scheme on third down. Their sub third down protection or blitz pressure package is unbelievable. You know, you mix in the talent at DB, the length of DB, the speed, the leadership. I mean, that number 17, that linebacker scares me. I mean, he is an absolute warrior out there, and he organizes and orchestrates the whole defense. Their D-line, they bring 4 in and 4 off. Great pass rushers. So they're a challenge at every single position for us offensively right now. So to answer your question, it's going to be a great challenge. But like most competitors, our guys are, and myself and Coach Beamer, we are excited, to get to go do this. This is going to be really, really hard, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield talking about the challenge that is being the offensive coordinator against the Georgia defense right now. Patrick, that's about what you would expect to hear, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about. I couldn't find the name Monty Rice yesterday. That was the name I couldn't think of yesterday. Monty Rice was a 4-year contributor for Georgia, and Nakobe Dean is number 17 that he was talking about. Right. Came in as a freshman and basically took his job. The kid is an absolute monster. I'm kind of glad Satterfield called him out individually because he's a true freak. It's just I agree. Everything about that defense is loaded, and he's got his work cut out for him this weekend. I hope that he was withholding as much as possible and has tricks up his sleeve because, to be honest, that's probably what it's going to take.
Dean,
hope we see some trick plays.
Dean with a couple of sacks against Clemson in the season opener there. And I think that message, I hope Joe was listening. Papa Joe weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Good morning, guys. Do you think that Beamer will already have accepted this game as a loss and to mainly use it as a learning experience? We need to see what Luke Doty can do against a big-time team that will help us later in the season. Joe, if he did that, he should be fired. No coach should ever do that. Ever. We can talk about the spread and the big picture and the whole deal, but Marcus Satterfield, Shane Beamer, and Clayton White, and Pete Limbo, they're going in there. I mean, 2 years ago, Joe, you would have said the exact same thing, right? It was a 24-point spread at that point. Carolina had no business winning that game in Athens 2 years ago, and that's exactly what they did. So, you got to understand the difference between fan and those of us on the outside and those on the inside, man. The inside, well, you cannot think that way at all. What, Patrick, you think there's any validity in what Papa Joe was suggesting there?
I think you can't project that at all, but that doesn't mean they're human. I mean, they're watching the tape. They're looking. Satterfield literally said, that guy gives me nightmares. He's watching the tape and he's saying, yeah, these guys are just better athletes and better football players than what we currently have on the roster. They're not going to say it. They're still going to work their hardest, and they're going to have confidence that they can figure something out. They can unlock a way to scheme up and beat that defense, but they're still human. There's not a part of them in their heart of hearts that says, yeah, we're probably not going to win this one.
Patrick, there is a massive difference between acknowledging reality and accepting losing. Massive difference.
Accepting is different. I mean, yeah, accepting is, I guess that's just semantics, but accepting and going in there.
Semantics. That is a huge difference in being a competitor. And that's kind of the point, and that's what some other Gamecock fans out there take it the other way, right? And like what Richard was saying about playing up to the competition and the whole deal, it's interesting to see how you guys are looking at this thing this morning. I'm interested. Well, for one, let's get out to Arkansas on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line there. It's our buddy Rooster P out there. Says he's driving around listening this morning. Says, Gamecock Lucas enjoying his phone calls. What a cool little bright young man. I also agree with Lucas. I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock tonight, and he wants more screenplays to the tight end and the running back he mentioned on Monday. We'll go even further out west. Eric joining us from Wyoming. Eric hit us up earlier in the week, and I mentioned, and maybe you could send some pictures out there, and that's exactly what he's done. We'll pop them up on the live stream right now. Good stuff, Eric. How's Wyoming treating you this morning?
Fantastic, man. How y'all doing?
Doing well. That's an excellent picture of it almost looks like Grand Canyon you're looking over. Obviously, it's not the Grand Canyon. I do know a little bit more about U.S. geography than to put you in the Grand Canyon up in Wyoming.
It feels like it hiking up and down the hills, I can promise you.
So how are you feeling? Are you inspired by nature?
I'm feeling better, man. My leg is better. I'm feeling so much better. I did have to come into town yesterday. September 15th is opening day of deer season in South Carolina, so I hope everybody out there is having a good, safe opening little stint of deer season. It's also the day I proposed to my wife 24 years ago, so I had to come into town, take her to dinner, and have a surprise her and clean myself up a little bit because 18 days out there has been I'm getting pretty right. But on the way back out there, just wanted to say, love Gamecock Larry. I hope he is not a gambling man, though. I love his enthusiasm. Lucas is awesome. Just he's got a future with y'all or somewhere in the biz. And like I said last week, Gamecocks got smacked in the mouth last week. That is their kind of like their first game. We're going to see the biggest improvement coming up this week. And it's not going to be 44-41, but I'm going to say 19-17 Gamecocks. We can figure out a way to score a few points on them, make them nervous, get them thinking about things. And our defense is better than people think.
Eric, appreciate the phone call. Good luck back in Wyoming. Man, 18
Yes,
days in
sir.
Wyoming. That's impressive stuff. And 1917 seems a lot more reasonable if you're going to predict a Gamecock victory in this thing, wouldn't you say, Patrick?
Yeah, I think 10-17 sounds a little bit more reasonable, or not. The lower, the better. But I don't know. I mean, a defensive touchdown could happen. Crazy things could happen. Return touchdown, blocked punt. We could get a little bit of the Beamer magic.
Billy on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Big Red's not going to be happy too long. The Washington football team getting whooped tonight. And Lucas and Gamecock Larry, thank you. I think he was trying to say there on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Any idea what's the spread there with your boys and the Giants tonight? I imagine it's not too much.
I have no idea. I assume we're favored. 3.5. 3.5. Washington favored.
Because the Washington's at home tonight?
Yes.
So the typical 3 points for the home team. Interesting. So Billy's calling for a Giants whooping there. Jerry, for some reason, is just not feeling good this morning. He says between Larry and Lucas, it's hard not to give up and just listen to country music in the morning. Oh, all right. That's your option, Jerry.
Do it.
That is your option. That is not how most people have taken Larry and Lucas this morning. Charles says, please review these outlandish predictions on Monday so we can really get a good laugh. You know, some people do just listen to the show to hate listen. That's all. Not your fault. Todd says, Patrick, if in your heart of hearts you don't think you can win, that's how you'll carry yourself. That's how you'll practice. And in the end, that's how you'll perform. You got to block it out. Every game you think you can win, you must think this way. If not, you've already lost before you put the pads on. And then, of course, he ends with roll tide.
Okay.
Strong response from Patrick.
Look, this has actually got brought up yesterday in something I was listening to an interview with Ron Rivera, and there was a clip from the very first season of Hard Knocks, or maybe the second, where Brian Billick, when he was coaching the Ravens, had a list of the schedule, and people were shocked how he went down and was like, "Yeah, we'll win that one. We should win that one. We'll probably lose this one. We'll probably lose that one. We'll win." And the people were shocked at the pure honesty where he was saying, yeah, I mean, we probably will not win that game. I'm saying, I think they're human. I'm not saying accept defeat, because if you accept defeat, that means you'll be in the room saying, it doesn't even matter what I draw up. It's why am I even watching this film? We can't win this game. That's not what they're doing. But I think they're watching and they're saying, we can draw up some great plays, but at the end of the day, like that number 17, like we can get him to get so-and-so to the outside, but that number 17, he's just everywhere. Like, I don't know how we beat them. Like at a certain point, you can say, okay, well, this is a very tall task, and everything will have to go exactly perfect, and Georgia will have to step on their own foot or something like that. Like something's going to have to break our way for us to win this game. That doesn't mean you're accepting defeat. It just means you're acknowledging that team's a lot better than the team we got right now, and even if we draw up the perfect plays and do everything we can, it might not be enough.
I don't think Joe's getting it yet. He asks, does this team think they can actually beat Georgia? That would be my thing. And Joe, the answer is yes. Absolutely yes. A lot of the guys on the team, last time they went to Georgia, they won. Maybe if they had just gotten absolutely blown out last time. And I get it, last year's game wasn't that competitive. I understand. But I'm saying the last trip to Athens is the best example in my lifetime of South Carolina pulling off a big upset. In my lifetime. So the odds of it happening again from the outside looking in, no, it's not good. Yeah. Not a good chance. And again,
and everything broke South Carolina's direction in that game. A quarterback who never threw interceptions, threw more interceptions than he's ever thrown in his career. A kicker that never missed multiple times. Like everything went their way.
Well, not quite everything. Ryan Helinski did go out injured.
And then Joyner played well.
Yeah, it's not like he was lighting the world on fire. He protected the football.
Moved the chains, protected the ball. Ran clock.
But the gap between those two teams was narrower than the gap between these two teams this year, 2 years later, it seems, on paper.
Agreed.
That's why we play the game, though. That's why college football is so fun. College football specifically, you're talking about the NFL, Patrick. Very rarely do you have a massive gap anywhere close to what you get in college football in the NFL. It's never like that just because of the way the league's set up.
You will never see a 32-point spread.
And it's why I enjoy the college game more. I think it's one of the things that makes it more interesting, more fun, more fascinating week in and week out, as opposed to a league that has more parity. There is a lot of fun to that in its own way. It's a different brand of football for sure, and a different way to watch it.
Thankfully, there's more college games, though, because when you have that gap, I mean, nobody in America will be surprised if it's 28-0 at the end of the first quarter and they say, okay, well, this one's not going to be an upset, and they turn the South Carolina game off for the rest of the day. I mean, if Alabama just wipes the floor with Florida, I won't be surprised at all. If it's like actually not an entertaining game and Alabama is just smoking them, I won't be totally surprised. But every once in a while, you get one of those upsets and a great game that shouldn't be a great game, but there's just more blowouts. There's more games that aren't even worth watching in college. That's why I've always been an NFL guy.
Todd, you got to get out of your Alabama-centric thinking, man. Biggest Carolina upset in your lifetime? Come on. What about October 9, 2010? The school's greatest upset ever, 35-21 over Alabama. Yeah, Alabama was number 1 that day. Carolina was what, number 14? 17? Something like that? I think the spread was, I forget what it was. Bill is the expert on this, and he's not feeling too well this morning, but we're hoping to hear from him a little bit later. I think the spread, maybe it was 10? Todd, come on, man. 32.5 is what the spread opened up this week for a reason. Neil says, when I or just about anyone buys a lottery ticket, we truly believe that we can win too. Yeah, you should. Otherwise, why are you going to buy the lottery ticket? You're just donating money. Joker's got Carolina keys to success this weekend. Number 1, the defense forces turnovers, scores points, constant pressure on the quarterback. Number 2, special team gets turnover and a kick return for points. Number 4, because why wouldn't you count 1, 2, and 4? Clean up the penalties. Number 5, the running game has a record day. Maybe a lot more of the Kerryon Joyner running run-pass option schemes, that is. Interesting to hear offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield talk about the run game yesterday through 2 games this season. Hear some of that when we come back. You're listening to the early game here. It's 107.5 The Game.
Dan Patrick, weekdays 9 until noon on 107.5 The Game. High school coverage on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by Love.
Right after this.
Hey, wanted to tell you guys about Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. I don't know about your house these days, but my house, it's an especially difficult challenge these days because I got 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and almost a year and a half right now. So keeping things clean can be a challenge. That's why zero res carpet and air duct cleaning is important to us at our house. They've been out a couple of times and done a great job cleaning our carpets. They've freshened up the tiles in the kitchen and the bathroom, really impressed my wife with the results, and left our house feeling and looking its best. That's exactly what they can do for you, and they do it differently than anybody else out there. Zero Res has a patented ZR water where they don't use any harsh chemicals in the process. You can go to zerorescolumbia.com right now and find out all the details about how they crank the pH up in the water. You can also see they have a great deal for you right now. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. Zero Res, you can call them right now, 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
From the Shepherd's Glass.
I saw
Everybody
7.5.
grab some tissues real quick.
I'm going to. Does anyone remember what the spread was in 2019 against Georgia? Let's see. And the state has a paywall. Of course. $21.5. That's right. So yeah, Georgia was favored by 21.5 in 2019. In 2010, South Carolina was ranked number 19, and Alabama was favored by 7.5. So not exactly close. What was Georgia? Georgia was ranked number 3 in 2019. Not totally comparable. Anybody watch the SpaceX launch yesterday?
No.
They launched civilians. The civilians are going up for 3 days.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's all civilians. I'm not completely sure. There's a whole crew of them.
Wow, 3 days.
I don't know how I feel about their spacesuits.
Oh, I guess I should look.
They're very futuristic. I'm gonna pull up a picture of them so that people can see on the live stream.
Ignoring our guys here.
What guys?
Talking about the space launch or whatever.
Yeah, SpaceX sent a team of civilians up yesterday. Very futuristic spacesuits. I'm not digging the helmets very much.
They looking like the Jetsons?
A little bit. They don't look like. Controlled by a computer? The launch was? Where the ship is? Yeah, Tim, 7.5 was the spread in 2010. 21.5 was the spread in 2019.
One more time. Sorry.
The spread in 2010 was 7.5. 2019, 21.5.
It might have got down to 21 at game time. It was definitely 24 at one point.
Okay, yeah.
I think it got up to 24. I thought.
I think I pulled an article up from I think game day that year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So
I wasn't way off. That's good.
So those SpaceX spacesuits, they are known as the Advanced Crew Escape Suit. Elon Musk had to reassure concerned Instagram followers that it really actually works. You can just jump in a vacuum chamber with it and it's fine. So there you go.
couple of people on the flight are doctors. I was reading about one of them who's a St. Jude's doctor.
Really? Still not going to get me in one of those. Nope.
Yeah, I wonder if they get paid or what they get paid if they're getting paid at all.
Wouldn't they be paying?
That's what I'm not sure. I mean, they're actually they did 6 months of training apparently. So I don't know if they were in positions. Maybe they were sponsored or something. I
Could be.
have no idea.
Yeah, you know what we're gonna see with this is the spacesuits are gonna start looking like race car driver suits. All the patches from all the sponsors, that's gonna be the next thing.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
They should be able to customize them.
Freaky fast, even in space.
Especially if they're paying to go up, they should be able to put whatever they want in their spacesuit.
Yeah.
Let's come back with number 3, please, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
That's a deep cut there from Ron from Lake Marion this morning. A little 4-hole swamp reference. Good to see and hear all you guys on the live stream this morning. We're off to a fast start. If you didn't catch the beginning of the show, we already had Eric calling from Wyoming, or maybe back en route to Wyoming. 12-year-old Lucas, 87-year-old Gamecock Larry predicting Gamecock wins. Some clearly bitter Clemson fans not happy with that.
Didn't like the feel of that game, obviously, like a lot of people early on at the East Carolina game. But you go through that first game and you didn't have to do a lot. And then you go through that East Carolina game and what you thought might be successful was not. Then you had to adjust a little bit in the second half. And so you're sitting here 2 games into it and you feel like you haven't really gotten the meat and potatoes of the run game going with what you had envisioned going into the season. So we're anxious to continue to work hard during practice and get to a situation where we can game going and get the full allotment of plays and schemes that we have out there available.
That's offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield talking about the Gamecock run game. Interesting to hear his thoughts there. Patrick, everything okay? Looked like your video feed might have gone upside down on you. Your camera.
Yeah, I got the laptop on my lap and then the USB connected to my webcam, which is just sitting on top of a hockey puck on my desk. I yanked my laptop a little bit too hard.
Why would it be? I mean, like John from Somerville this morning, greatest upset for Carolina is anytime they beat Clemson. Go Tigers. That's where you're at right now. I guess when you play Georgia Tech, there's not much to talk about this week with the way the East. Did you see that stat, Sue? They put it out. I retweeted it. I think
45.
It was Peter Burns from the SEC Network talking about how many ranked opponents were left on specific teams' schedule. Clemson's got 0. South Carolina's got 5. I think the most on anybody else's schedule was 6.
30.
And Kentucky could fully be ranked this week, too. It could have been a 6th. I would expect Kentucky to be ranked by the time they come to Williams-Brice next Saturday. But this show is all about this Saturday. Carolina, Georgia, the talk is heating
15.
up. This is a good sign. And Patrick's got a game day for his Washington football team. We'll see if he can stay in a relatively good mood. Hour number 2 coming up.
Fair.
you missed Bill yesterday admit and shock a bunch of people that he's a closeted Georgia fan.
How did this happen?
He willingly just brought it up.
What does that mean exactly?
He said, a lot of people, I forget exactly how he said it. He was like, a lot of people I know that, but I'm kind of a closeted Georgia fan. I mean, most of my family is Georgia fans, and me and my brother, my sister and dad were the only ones that are Gamecocks. So, yeah, I mean, I like the Bulldogs.
Wow.
It was out of nowhere and quite shocking, honestly. I'd never heard that before. I know someone in the live stream here was here when he said that. Who does Clemson play?
Who did you say?
Yeah.
Or when?
Georgia
Playing
Tech.
Georgia Tech. I don't know when. I'll look it up right now.
3:30.
Yeah, I don't know how long Jeff Collins is going to last if they don't make some steps.
Well, they seem to have taken a step back.
Right.
I really thought he would do better. He seemed to have exactly the right mindset. He's an Atlanta guy, preached Atlanta, and had a very high energy attitude.
Yep.
Just might not be easy to recruit there anymore. Hard to get into. Good school. That is all right. Is the Georgia Clemson spread larger or smaller than the South Carolina Georgia spread?
I bet it's slightly smaller. I'm thinking Clemson is a 28-point favorite against Georgia Tech.
That's exactly right. I think it.
Lucky guess. Craig, what are we doing here? We're talking to 8th grade quarterbacks on podcasts. Come on, man. Where did
what? Remember his name.
It's a good name. Great football name.
Unless he stopped growing.
Poor kid, though.
That's 13 years old.
Yep, 13. Maybe 14. One of my buddies in 8th grade, towards the end of it, got his learner's permit. He had been held back previously.
In 8th grade?
Yeah.
What? I didn't get my learner's permit till sophomore year of high school.
They would make no, your learner's permit, though, you get, at least I got when I was 15, so I think I got it halfway through my freshman year of high school.
In Maryland, it was 15 and 9 months.
Oh, yeah. That sounds right. Those extra few months are key development months.
So there's not really another standout game outside of Florida, Bama, and Penn State, Auburn.
Right.
I don't know what we're going to pick.
Well, you go Georgia Tech, Clemson because of the large spread, and then we got just 4, right?
That'll put us at 4, yeah. Maryland has already announced that when number 5 Iowa comes there in 3 weeks, it's going to be a blackout and it's at 8 p.m. Maryland's going to be quite possibly 5-0, 4-0.
Nothing like taking it one game at a time, huh?
That means they're guaranteed to lose by 30 plus points.
All right, let's see how well we can stay on time this hour, Patrick. I have
We got the doctor.
Doctor at 7:45.
Okay.
All right, Jen, can we start with number 8?
Number 8.
Thank you.
Welcome to the early game. 107.5 The Game with Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, and producer Jennifer Jensen.
He was ready for another 30 minutes.
I was into that rant. There was no end in sight. Wow. Jen, please get this song just on a loop. We'll play it at like 10 and 20 and 30 minutes after the hour. How about that? Hit the show, huh? I sat differently today, so I was not staring right at it because we've seen how I sat. It's all what look at the time.
Now, here's Tim Hill and Bill Gunter.
It takes a village, Bill. It really does.
On 107.5 The Game.
We are who we're going against. The process should not change. Your attitude should not change. And how you come to work should not change. So obviously, our Georgia guys, all of our guys up front, every one of this football team should play SEC football, not just the fact that it's UGA.
Clayton White, I think, explaining it perfectly from his defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield, special teams coordinator Pete Limbo at the press conference yesterday. That's what we've been talking about this morning so far. The question was brought up by a Gamecock fan. Do you think Shane Beamer's already accepted defeat and is kind of looking at the bigger picture? Absolutely. And how Clayton White just put it there, it was very Nick Saban-esque with the process and the whole deal. But that's how you can guarantee the coaches and players are going about things. Patrick, this seems to irk you to some degree. This is not denying reality, the reality that Georgia is a very talented football team and should win the football game. I mean, when the spread opens up at 32.5. But Steve Spurrier would be the only college football coach to ever mention the spread in some of his press conferences. He said he did it because he just wanted to acknowledge the public perception of what some experts out there thought both football teams were. That's where these football programs are. It was a little larger than I expected, Patrick, but I guess not a complete shock after what we've seen through a couple of weeks this season. What about you? What did you think of the original Vegas spread being set at 32.5 in this game?
I thought it was fair. I mean, the score that Nick threw out at the very beginning of the show, 38-3. Would that be shocking? I wouldn't be shocked at all if that was the final score. I mean, when you see Clemson unable to score a touchdown and think that South Carolina is going to have drastically more success than that, no, I can't find that to be surprising. I do think I will end up picking South Carolina to cover that number. Spoiler, but that's just because I think South Carolina's defense is good enough to slow down Georgia at least a little bit, and Georgia's banged up. Maybe I would change my tune if I knew for certain that Darnell Washington was going to play, but that is still up in the air. Arian Smith got hurt for them. They're still not fully healthy on offense, and I'm not even taking into consideration the quarterback at this point. From what I saw from the stats about it, I don't even care who Georgia's quarterback is. I don't think that would move my opinion one iota at this point. They both are good players and can do different things, but they can both light it up. So
the word from at least one player after practice last night was that the quarterbacks JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett, they're both splitting first-team reps. And then another player asked about the injury to Stetson Bennett that Kirby Smart alluded to earlier in the week, said it was a lower back deal, and that player said he didn't even know that Bennett was hurt at all. So believe what you choose to believe in this conversation. Where I'm at, Patrick, is I'm exactly with you. Either JT Daniels or Stetson Bennett is going to play. And odds are whoever it is going to play well. And they don't necessarily – I don't think this game is a game that you go in and you say, oh, well, if either JT Daniels plays or Stetson Bennett plays, then that's one is that much more of an advantage for Georgia than the other. They're both going to be able to orchestrate the offense. Yeah. But what Clayton White and company can do defensively is again, for the second week in a row, I'm saying this is the much more important part. Obviously, you don't want to turn the ball over on offense, and you do want to be better than you were last week. You want to see signs of improvement. You got to make some plays. There's no doubt about it. But if Carolina wins the game on Saturday like they did the last trip they made over to Athens, the defense is going to have to lead the way. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, it's going to be defensive-driven, and special teams will be involved in that. I can't imagine a scenario where South Carolina would beat Georgia and the special teams didn't do something special.
No pun intended or pun intended? You're going to be that guy this morning.
Intended.
Oh, don't be that guy.
I guess. I don't know. Was it really a pun?
I think it was.
I don't really know what a punt is, to be honest. Yeah, but they'll have to block a punt in Georgia territory, give the offense a short field. They might have to return it for a touchdown. They're going to have to do something very much game-altering.
Okay, let me ask you this, Patrick, because you're in a relatively good mood on a Thursday morning because you got a Washington football team game tonight against the New York Giants where they're a 3.5-point favorite last you checked. Mark has the question. Patrick, you're taking the Gamecocks plus 32.5. So are you going Washington minus the 3.5? I cannot do that. Mark says, which one are you more confident in as you sit here this morning before both of your teams' games?
South Carolina plus 32.5. I'm not overly confident in Washington minus 3. I could see it going either way. For whatever reason, Giants have had Washington's number the last couple of years, the Daniel Jones era, and a 3-point spread that game could easily go either way. I would not be shocked. Not that I'd be totally shocked if it was 35 to 3. Like that would be covering the 32.5. I'm not sure it's going to end at 32.5 on Saturday. I would like to think that it'll be more like 30, but yeah, I would. The 38-3 score seems so realistic to me. Sadly,
Alan says, "How come no one talks about Georgia didn't score an offensive touchdown against Clemson?" From a Gamecock fan, no, plenty of people talked about that for sure, but that's why I said that the Gamecocks defense is the unit that has to be the one to lead the way, because I think we all understand Georgia's defense is kind of otherworldly at this point. On paper, for sure, and what we've seen through 2 games, what they did to Clemson, pretty incredible, holding them to 180 total yards and 2 rushing yards. But yeah, you're right, Alan. Georgia struggled in that game too. That was a defensive struggle fest for sure. It's a slugfest, no doubt. Now the question is, can the Carolina defense step up to anywhere close to that level? Because they've been good through 2 games, but their opponents haven't been anywhere what Georgia is. or Clemson is. We know that in college football. So I think that's why. I think from the Gamecock fan standpoint, you don't want to talk about that too much and then go see Georgia's offense do what they did to UAB. And Anonymous Texter says, how can y'all say Stetson Bennett is a world beater when he played one game against UAB? But then whenever we play an inferior team, you always say don't get too high because it was a team we should have beat. Just seems like we don't know what Stetson Bennett really is because he played a nobody. If that was his only game, I'm with you. We not count last season at all. I mean, he was one of the feel-good stories in all of college football before he ended up getting beat out by JT Daniels at the end of the season.
We're also not saying he's a world beater.
No.
We're saying he's capable of manufacturing a lot of points on an incredibly talented team. And I think we've said most of this week that the quarterback position is potentially the Achilles heel for Georgia if they want to be a national championship contender. He's not a world beater. He's just an experienced quarterback, a senior, who's comfortable in this offense and can distribute the ball to five-star freak athletes all over the field. It's not that hard to do.
You know what I'm hearing this morning, Patrick, is that if people want to get ticked off, they're going to get ticked off no matter what is said, one way or the other. Speaking of that, we do need to discuss the mask mandate news that came out last night, about the next Gamecock home game. We'll do that when we come right back. Let you hear a little bit more from Marcus Satterfield and Clayton White, the Carolina coordinators who spoke yesterday as well. Just getting rolling in hour number 2 on a Thursday before Carolina and Georgia. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports. 107.5 The Game. Feel free to call and complain if you wish.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Remember, we are free of charge, after all.
Timing this week is very interesting in our conversation that we're having. Right now, it's wildly interesting in the housing market as well. Let Buford Lending be that partner for you that can open your eyes to your possibilities, to all your options right now. Give Buford Lending a call, 843-524-2404. When I've talked to Benji Getzi in the lending process, his team experienced 25 years in the industry. I could tell, especially by the numbers that they showed me, blew me away. Also, by the communication level that I got from Buford Lending going through the lending process with them. That's, to me, the main thing, right? The relationship, how much you can trust your lender. I can tell you from firsthand experience, Buford Lending was there for me, and they will be there for you as well. All Benji Getzi and company ask, just give them a chance to show them what they can do for you, and he's confident he can find you the best deal out there. 843-524-2404. Again, the number, no matter what you're looking for, VA, FHA, USDA loan, conventional construction, renovation, you're looking to refinance. Let Buford Lending work for you. 843-524-2404.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
Easy money. Mark, are you a South Carolina guy? We're just very high on Georgia. I'll be interested to see what I feel like Tim's going to come back and read this and say, are you crazy? One game? But, honestly, wash Chadwick. I think it would be. Because that would not knock them out of the playoff, but it would put a big dent in their playoff hopes. And this team is entirely too talented to not go undefeated and at least have a chance to head to the playoffs from the SEC championship game. If they lost to South Carolina as 32-point favorites, that would be trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this means. Am I get off your lawn kind of guy?
Oh, that you're not happy about anything. That's not true. I think you're being realistic.
People walk on my lawn. People walk on my lawn all the time. Neighborhood kids cut through my lawn all the time. I'm cool with it.
You don't own it. You don't care, right?
Yeah, and I'm not even in a bad mood. I picked Georgia to win the national championship like 2 months ago, and I think Georgia's incredible. And me saying that Georgia is a lot better than South Carolina is now turning into me being in a bad mood. I just think Georgia's that good.
Enjoy having no car payments for up to 90 days. Not a member
That
of
is
State Credit
realistic.
Union yet?
We can't
Joining
hear
is
you.
fast and easy. Visit their
Tim, we
website
can't
for
hear you.
details. SCSCU.
Tim, you got to unplug the program feed thing.
My bad.
Not that we don't love Chris.
It's kind of mean.
I think that's Lester's way. That's who he is. What a question.
What's your answer?
I guess it could be. Seems odd.
That's not what I told them you were going to say.
What'd you tell him I was going to say?
I told them you were going to say, in one game, come on, no way. But I said yes.
I mean, it already happened once. It happens again. Georgia fans,
Yeah.
they are.
There's a different type of buzz around this Georgia team right now. If he lost as a 32-point favorite,
Right.
and didn't come close to sniffing the playoffs this year, that would be a problem.
At that point, they're gonna blame Muschamp. It's the Muschamp aura if they lose.
He's our inside man. What does that mean, Lester?
Let's do number 2 coming back, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can attribute it to Muschamp.
Absolutely.
Georgia's just cursed, aren't they?
So, Lester, I don't understand. Are you a Clemson fan? Is that the deal?
I can't tell.
And who is slamming the Gamecocks nationally? I don't think they're relevant enough.
He says we beat Bama. That's what I'm saying. Are we the Gamecocks? And is he talking about 11 years ago? Is that what he's saying?
I have no idea.
Because we also beat Georgia 2 years ago.
No, you were called Timothy. You are in trouble.
Sure.
I don't get it.
Oh, SEC Network. I think we're down with Lester for a little bit here.
Technically, that's not nationally. It's regionally.
All right, number 2. That'd be nice.
To go 3 and out the 4 times that we did, it really tests you and it tests your discipline. But when you have a defense that's going out there and just knocking balls down, taking the ball away, scoring on defense, like you have 3 or 4 really, really talented running backs. I mean, you just trust it. You just keep handing them the ball and you hope that, you catch a seam and all it takes is one seam and those guys are gone. I think, later on, if we wouldn't have had success with the run late in the third, I think we'd have had to start throwing it, obviously. But we were still most of the second half still in a situation where we'll punt. The defense is going to get it back in 5 or less plays. So thank goodness the defense was playing at the level they were.
Offensive coordinator for Carolina, Marcus Satterfield, talking about being hard-headed to the degree he was running the football, even though there wasn't much success for most of the ball game. 2.5 quarters for sure there against East Carolina. It's been one of the most surprising parts of the first couple of games to me, Patrick, that the offense hasn't been more successful running the football. I think it's shown me that Mike Bobo deserves a lot of credit for what Carolina did last year, especially with Kevin Harris. I think I'm still confused about Kevin Harris and where he's at, maybe from a health standpoint or from a coaching confidence standpoint. And then Juju McDowell stepping up at the end of that ball game against East Carolina as a true freshman and being the one guy who got the most important carries, another big surprise there. How this thing moves forward is going to be really interesting. Marcus Satterfield also adding that you haven't seen everything the run game can do, and there's a lot more that Carolina can do that he hopes to unveil, but they got to have some success in kind of their top plays first and then be able to expand out from there. How surprised are you at this point in the Carolina run game 2 games in?
Yeah, I'm surprised by a lot of it. I just don't know if maybe they expected to have a dual threat quarterback. Like that's what I need to see is does the impact of Luke Doty change everything about this run game? Is a lot of it designed to be read option stuff or designed to have a quarterback run option in there? Is that just what it is? Are they just so limited because they've got a quarterback who's not mobile out there and all he can do is hand it off? I just don't know. And I don't know what we're going to learn this weekend either. We said at the end of the ECU game, they started to push the ball outside with Juju McDowell, and that's where they found all their success was him just catching the corner and beating guys with speed. Problem is that's not going to play against Georgia. It's just I don't know what the answer is against that defensive line and those linebackers. Is it run straight in between the tackles and hope that your guard and center can move Jordan Davis, the best nose tackle in the country? Is it to get the edge and hope your running backs are faster than Nakobe Dean? I just don't know. I don't know that there's a good answer. If you try to go the outside, you're more likely to lose yards and put yourself behind the chains from the beginning of the drive. It's just I just don't know.
Patrick, neither one of those were the answer that Marcus Satterfield had yesterday when he was asked how he could help the run game or what would help the most.
We have to do what we did when we separated the game. We have to throw the ball down the field. And we did that a couple of times early, but when we throw it, we also had to secure it. We can't fumble the ball. I mean, we had a touchdown call back. We had a third down conversion fumble. So in that game, you had to throw the ball to get them up to allow you to run the football. So our guys hung in there, though, and again, really proud of them.
What do you make of that answer? Because to me, and Bill's put it very plainly as well, you don't have to be a defensive genius to figure out the game plan against South Carolina going in, especially if you don't have a quarterback back there who has proven that he can throw the ball. You got a guy who has proven he can run the ball in Kevin Harris from last year for more than 1,000 yards. You feel like that's the strength of the offense, so you scheme up for it. The question, I guess, going into this week, Patrick, is how much will Georgia scheme up for that, or how much? And I feel like this has happened in years past before, where Georgia teams, they know how talented they are, so they don't feel like they have to scheme up the Gamecocks as much as other teams, whether it's on offense or defense. And it's worked to Carolina's advantage, where those guys have stepped up time and time again in these big games and played tremendously well. And it's almost worked into Carolina's hands when Georgia knows they have extreme talent in places and they don't have to get too fancy or scheme things up too much.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to scheme up very much at all. I mean, if they're not going to pack the box to stop the run, I mean, their front two defensive linemen, Devontae White and Jordan Davis, they're almost 700 pounds combined. That's like 675 pounds a man just between two guys. They're going to dare South Carolina to push them back. They're not going to, if it's an obvious passing down, they're not going to worry about sending too many guys in the blitz. They're going to say, I've got Adam Anderson, who's going to be a first-round pick next year. We've got Nolan Smith, who was the number one recruit in the country a couple years ago. I feel like they just are going to be confident that they can win their head-to-head matchups and not try to do anything too special. Maybe that's an opportunity for South Carolina to take advantage, but the deep shots against what's maybe the best secondary of the country, if not, it's up there. Easier said than done, but I mean, it's going to come down to individual guys got to win one-on-one battles. So at some point, Josh Van's going to have to, if he's getting covered by Darian Kendrick, who's probably could have been a first-round pick last year, he's going to have to beat him at some point. I mean, you're just going to have to win that individual matchup. And if there's a contested ball, you're going to have to be the stronger guy. You're going to have to come down with it if you want to beat a team that's you're frankly overmatched by.
Interesting comments I thought yesterday as well from Marcus Satterfield about some of the plays that if we watch from the outside, we don't know who made the mistake. We'll get into more of that as we roll on. First, I wanted to mention that mask mandate that came down yesterday. The city of Columbia obviously has the mask mandate now. University of South Carolina putting out the news yesterday that will also pertain to Williams-Brice Stadium at this point, which means the Kentucky game 1 week from Saturday, fans will be required to wear masks. Several of you have hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100 about that. One of you right now, Alan says, I'm not ticked off regarding the mask mandate. I will buy one beer, and it will be in my hand the entire game, because if I have food and drink in my hand, I do not have to have the mask on. So there's one workaround from there. Patrick, what do you make of the mask mandate there? I saw several people upset. Some people have hit me up with the text or the tweet, I guess, from J.C. Sherbert there, the Big Spur, saying that Alabama and I forget who else in the SEC, they don't do
Clemson.
this. Yeah, they don't do this to drive fans away. To me, that's not how I see this issue at all, man. I mean, look at LSU. LSU has gone the next step, right, and has required vaccination proof or a negative test. So to me, this is not a football deal, and this is not where we're taking the show today, because it becomes a much larger discussion that has very little to do with sports. It's just kind of where we are right now in 2021, and it's certainly an inconvenience, and I get the strong opinions one way or the other, but for our show here, that's just kind of how I see it. What about you?
Yeah, it's also just 2 games as of right now. I think this is supposed to end on October 8th, so it'll be the next 2 home games. The first thing I thought was just like, I don't know how they divvy up the security, which section you do during the games, but whoever draws the straw and has to be security for the student section, I do not envy that person.
No doubt. And just for clarification standpoint, the University of South Carolina did put out that the city of Columbia is in charge of enforcing this, and the penalty would be a fine of no more than $100. That's the information that was put out yesterday. And again, don't want to take the show in that direction. Do want to kick off the second half of the show with more from offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield when we come back, talking about one play in particular that you very rarely see in college football. That is exactly what we saw last week with the Gamecocks on offense. And I think his answer or his perspective on this thing is pretty illuminating as it pertains to what Carolina is trying to do, what they can actually do moving forward. We'll hear that next. You're listening to The Early Game. It's 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Being comfortable in life is at a premium right now for multiple ways. I think coming off that last conversation, it's always great to be able to go home, sit in that favorite chair, especially during football season, and post up and be in your happy place. Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding wants to help improve your happy place or help you find yours as well. When you go into Daniel's, they're at the back of the airport in West Columbia. When you walk in there, just look to your right. You'll see all the recliners. That's their specialty, the motion furniture, they call it, the recliners, the reclining sofas or love seats. They got the leather gallery right down the way, more than 50 recliners right there on the floor. And by the way, when you go to Daniel's, Daniel and June Clark, who've been running Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding for 25 years in the Midlands, they understand they're different than the big box stores. You're not a nameless, faceless customer going in there. You're not another number just trying to get their numbers up. No, they want you to be part of their family. And if you see something on their floor that you want to buy, you're good. And if you live within 20 miles of the store, they'll deliver it for you for free. It is that simple. at Daniels Fine Furniture and Bedding. Much different than other furniture places where it's much more complicated, and Daniels can do whatever you need them to do. You need them to order something. You need them to get a name brand from a specific type of furniture manufacturer out there. They can do that for you. You need to find a specific fabric or whatever you're looking for. Daniels Fine Furniture and Bedding. They're the experts, and they will do it for you because they want you to be part of their family for years to come. Go check them out. The back of the airport, 3911 Edmond Highway, West Columbia. That's at Highway 302 and Dunbar Road. Remember the 3 B's that Daniel's known for: best furniture, best service, and best price. And when it's time to save, it's time for Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding.
Clear.
Tim, are you planning to go to either of those games?
No.
Kentucky or Troy?
I was thinking about going to the Kentucky game, but I already went to the opener, and there's 3 games that day on my coaching schedule.
Yeah.
I think I'll hang back and watch it at the house.
And you'd get home at what?
Late.
1?
Late, yeah. Yeah, that's the part that really makes a big dent, makes a big impact there on the rest of the.
Yeah. I think I'm only going to go to Florida this year.
Nice. It's a good one to go. Right.
I will go to Columbia, Missouri this year.
Very nice.
Check that one off.
Yeah, you can have a good time there. It's one of those where, I mean, I've been twice now. Great time, but great college football trip. In and out. You can work the game even better. I think it'll be a little late this year, right?
It's November 13th. When I was looking at, or not even looking, when just looking at the SEC schools, that just for some reason stuck out to my mind as the one that I least cared about going to.
Thank you, Steven, by the way. Good luck with the day, sir. Yeah, because there's nothing really, right? I mean, there's no identity there.
I just never think about Missouri as an attractive place to go.
Yeah, and don't expect like a great environment pregame or anything. It's kind of like muted, but you can definitely have some fun there. Plan on, if you stay there the night before or the night of, definitely go to their little downtown area. Good time.
Yeah, we're flying in Friday. Should get in at like 6 o'clock Friday.
Flying in where? St. Louis or Kansas City?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's also part of it. If you go either way, it's a solid hour and a half or 2 hours to get to Como.
There's not a little airport in Columbia?
I'm sure there is, but I guess you got to pay a premium to get there. So St. Louis both times. So that made it more fun to me because we stayed at the casino one time. Maybe
Right out there by the airport.
Yeah. And went to a Cardinals game one time.
Yeah. That's right off right off the train line.
Yeah.
I remember
train in there.
Another company I worked for, St. Louis was my market, and so I'd go there, and right by that Union Station is where the radio stations were that I worked with. And I remember the trains, you could only use the golden dollars, even the Susan B. Anthony dollars or the Sacagawea or some. That was like their currency for a while or something. It was kind of weird.
Interesting.
It's like maybe nobody else was using them, so that's how the government was going to use those coins.
Jen, I'm going to do number 5, but I'll set it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is a.
Oh, crap.
There's an airport there. I don't know. My sister said they were flying from Charlotte.
Yeah, we went Charlotte to St. Louis direct, I believe. Not bad. Hot. Just rented a car.
You can't. I could rent a car, I guess. She can't rent a car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, have you done St. Louis before, Patrick?
No. I'd like to go for a weekend. Seems like a weekend city to me.
You said number 2, right?
Number 5.
That was the other number. They look the same, but in a mirror or two.
We did do 2 coming out of the last break, Jim. But I'll set it up here. You're good?
Yeah. I took a phone call, put that info in. And we'll want to keep this relatively short.
Yeah. .1075 The Game in Twin Peaks, giving you a chance to speak your mind. Time 24/7. The Hot Take Hotline is there.
Several of you use it judiciously, and I love it. 803-978-6654 is the number, especially when I have a hot take you don't agree with. Feel free to call it immediately. Get it out there. Disagree. Hot Take Hotline, sponsored by Twin Peaks. For the men who never settle, go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. Wanted to hear from Marcus Satterfield now, the Carolina offensive coordinator yesterday, asked about that play against East Carolina where it ended up being Josh Vann and Jaheim Bell both going up for a long pass, something that you never want to see as an offensive coordinator, 2 guys in the same spot. Interesting perspective from Marcus Satterfield here.
Hell of an interception, It's weird because Jaheim had a route where he was supposed to basically run over in this area and stop and then suck the defense down and then try to throw the ball over their head. Well, when Jaheim came out of the play, the run action was such a good run action, everything just disappeared and there was nothing but grass. So Jaheim's a young player. I mean, his innate reaction was run. And so he just kept running. He looks up, the ball's, Josh has come across the defender's face. He's getting ready to catch the ball, and then like a freaking something in the swamp just jumped out of nowhere and just grabbed the ball from him. But it's a great athletic play. Obviously, we don't want that. We'd rather Josh just be able to catch that ball with just him and that defender and see what he can do. But little things like that. Jaheim hasn't played a lot of football, but even in plays that he wasn't supposed to make, he's so super athletic. It shows you just the possibility of what he brings to our offense.
Again, offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield there. That last part, several of you this week have expressed getting the ball to Jaheim Bell more. Satterfield also asked yesterday what happened on that interception where Jaheim Bell wasn't looking for the football. Zeb Nolan threw it to him. He said he would keep that in-house about whose fault it was. I can read between the lines here, Patrick, after what I just heard, in that I'm gonna put that one on the young player that he was just talking about and not the guy who literally drew up the Gamecocks playbook this year. And I think that might be one reason that you don't see Jaheim Bell targeted as much as you might like, because you got to have everybody on the same page and you got to make sure your really talented guys that could catch the ball are seeing the play the same way that the quarterback offensive coordinator is seeing it as well. Do you hear something different in there, Patrick?
No, I think that's probably a fair conclusion to draw. It's just, and that's about the targets. It's just, if you can reliably always be in the right place, that's how you get your targets. I think that's why, clearly, Josh Vann seems to have developed a lot of trust between the quarterbacks. So I would assume that the way they talked about him, how he practiced, and his production so far, that he is just a guy that is always right place, right time, can be relied upon to run the right routes and at the right distance, take his breaks at the right times. And I think that's why Nick Muse has, the last couple of years, been targeted so much, just always can be trusted to be in the right place. So as much as we would like to see more Jaheim Bell, because he's just super dynamic, it's quite obvious what a good athlete he is, and that will come. So I think you've made the right conclusion there.
how his role continues to evolve in this offense. Remember, that it's a coach's job, too, to make it simple for players and to have them know what to do, when to do it, how this continues to evolve, all part of the fascinating part of the Gamecocks on offense, especially. Wanted to get in one more quick call on Love Chevy phone lines. Robert would like to weigh in on Gamecock football. Hey, Robert.
Good morning, guys. I'm dropping the kids out of school on a rainy morning.
Attaboy.
I'm just trying to get the day started listening to you guys. First off, the mask thing with the stadium is not a surprise. So I want to weigh in on that. That's not a shocker. Not saying it's pleasant, but that's not really a big shock to me. I think of many people in many ways. But that, and then I was going to say, Georgia's going to be just a great measuring tool to see where the program is so early on in Shane Beamer's tenure as coach. I like to watch players play hard, fight hard. I'm not necessarily looking for a win or loss as much as I'm just going to watch the game and hope for some grit, determination. Is there one player or two players that you guys see needing to stand out and or you look forward to seeing them play with a lot more grit, determination, fire, and for them to have a big breakout game?
Great question, Robert. Patrick, anybody pop to the front of your mind? Appreciate the phone call, by the way.
Well, I just think immediately of maybe South Carolina's best player in Kingsley Enagbare, not just because I think he needs to play with more grit. I don't think that's the case. He was absolutely dominant against East Carolina. But when you're talking about a different type of offensive lineman here, Jamari Sawyer, the left tackle for Georgia, is going to be a pro. I'm very excited to see a guy South Carolina's got hyped up as a first-round pick, if not a top 10 pick, going up against another guy that's going to play on Sundays. If he can win that battle, that could potentially change things for South Carolina. But mostly I'm just saying I like seeing head-to-head matchups of college guys that are clearly on their way to the NFL.
Yeah, I'll stay right there on the defensive line with you. I think it's so important. We saw that 2 years ago when Javon Kinlaw pretty much single-handedly wrecked Georgia's offense. If Zach Pickens can have a big day in the middle there for Carolina in this game, can show a bunch of fight with his talent, he and Jordan Burch right in there. I think both of those guys maybe a couple to keep your eye on, but I really am focused there on the defensive line like you, Patrick. We need to take a quick break. When we come back, going to have an expert join the show, drop some medical knowledge on us. The weekly segment with our doctor from Prisma Health Orthopedics is on the way. You're listening to the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
Football playoffs are here.
Sometime, crew is up against it.
We got a text in from Hunter that said Jaheim Bell is the Trey Hannibal of the football team. I don't hate that.
First of all, way more athletic, I think. If that's
Trey
possible.
Hannibal,
Maybe not way more athletic. More of an athletic freak. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Pound for pound, Trey Hannibal is a great
Right. But in basketball at 6 foot or whatever he was, 6'1" or 2.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Jen, you need me to know something?
There's a lot I need for you to know, but not right this minute. Dr. Holmes is on hold. Just wanted
Excellent.
I didn't know if you had a name or not.
Yep, I got it. And I even got his picture. We'll pop it up here.
Wow.
Yes,
Fancy.
Josh has done a good job in facilitating communication this year.
Excellent. Okay, good.
Yes. And Patrick, we got him talking about shoulder stuff, especially that thoracic deal, that Steven Strasburg thing.
Okay.
If you have any specific questions there, that's kind of what has been mentioned about this segment going in. Thoracic outlet syndrome, is that what it's called? Maybe it's not syndrome.
Yeah, TOS. Yeah, I think that's right.
A group of disorders. Huh? Where did that come from, Chad? No way a referendum on Shane Beamer's tenure, only 2 games in? No doubt. I mean, it came from where he wanted it. All right. Nice. We've got Dr. Holmes right now. DC, what was the issue there with the shoulder?
Yes, DC's cool like me. I've had rotator cuff surgery,
Ooh.
acromioplasty.
Yikes.
Kind of thinking I should have an endorsement deal at this point. I've got enough experiences. Yeah, Ezra.
I guess I was going to say it's the one time a week that we actually talk to an expert on the program. That's selling former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth a little short there. The one of 2 times that we talk to an expert for, well, we got Kerry Tharp in too. So one of 3 times during the week that we talk to an expert here. Dr. Wendell Holmes from Prisma Health Orthopedics joining us on the Love Chevy phone lines. Dr. Holmes, a Columbia native and yet a Clemson guy. Is this what I'm hearing correctly, sir?
I graduated from the USC School of Medicine, but I did do my undergrad at Clemson. So I'm a very mixed guy. But yes, I'm a Clemson guy as far as my fandom goes.
Yeah, but you're at USC more recently.
It's true.
That's right. That's exactly right. My dad is 89, and he's a huge Carolina fan. So I try to sit down and watch a game with him every now and then and pull for the Gamecocks.
How does
One of the it goes pretty good, unless we're playing one another. I really enjoyed your old timey radio call a little while ago with Bob Fulton and the Georgia game.
Yeah.
The other one that's really good to listen to is is from the Georgia side where he's saying "lay down dogs," and that's a lot of fun. But anyway,
classic
so
call.
I'm a mixed breed.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
Okay, let's get into the more of the serious business. And how often do you work on shoulders specifically, Dr. Holmes?
Pretty much every single day. Shoulder's a big part of my practice. It's a big area of injury in sports, especially during football season and baseball season too. Throwers get a lot of shoulder injuries as well.
Yeah, speaking of that, as you're talking about it, and we're in football season right now, why don't we see more shoulder deals with quarterbacks as much as they throw compared to pitchers?
Well, you have to go back to your physics. You remember your physics? No way. So the velocity of the ball, the shoulder is moving much faster in a pitcher than it is in a football player. So actually throwing a heavier ball sounds like it should hurt the shoulder more, but it actually, the forces are reduced because of the speed of the shoulder. So in fact, we'll have pitchers that can't seem to get their comfortable throwing a baseball and seem to be able to throw a football just fine. But it's about the velocity of the throw.
Interesting. I always remember growing up, I think I had a baseball card of Nolan Ryan throwing a football as the way that pitchers would warm up in baseball. And I feel like the trend in baseball now, especially at top level Major League Baseball stuff, Steven Strasburg, Matt Harvey, a couple examples, how it's gone from Tommy John surgery to this thoracic outlet syndrome, the TOS deal. How has this happened? Has this always happened in pitchers and we just now know about it? What's the deal with this TOS?
Well, thoracic outlet syndrome is, number one, it's an unusual problem. But the people at risk for it are overhead athletes, someone who is using their arm overhead like a pitcher over and over again. So there's the nerves come out of your neck. It's called the brachial plexus. They go through the muscles of the neck, under the clavicle, and over the first rib. And what happens is they keep stretching them over and over again, get some scarring in it, and then they start getting these symptoms of pain and nerve and cold and hot and just very uncomfortable in their arm. But, in the everyday person, it's a pretty unusual diagnosis. The other people that get it are volleyball players, people that are using their heads, sometimes basketball players, but throwing probably is the highest risk sport.
Yeah, I think I've seen it's like a 1 in a million type deal here. He's Dr. Wendell Holmes from Prisma Health Orthopedics, joining us on the Love Chevy phone lines now. To that point, the TOS situation, I think there have been it's kind of like a dire diagnosis, I feel like, at this point for a Major League Baseball pitcher, where it seems like most guys aren't fully recovering from this thing. It, again, reminds me of the Tommy John deal from way back in the day. Where is the science on this? Where is medicine on this type of deal and recovering and getting pitchers back to being anywhere close to where they were before?
Right. So it's a long haul, and it's hard to get back, especially to the elite ranks, just because there's so little room for error. But the last good study I saw, we actually were getting about 75% of players back to major league pitching. Now, getting back to the sport and being just as good or dominant as you were before the injury is very hard to achieve. So we're still able to get the majority of pitchers back to their sport.
Craig just hit us up on the Facebook live stream. It says he had his doctor tell him that 90% of people have a torn rotator cuff to some degree. It's just a matter of how bad it's torn. You agree with that number, Dr. Holmes?
That's a little excessive. If you're 90 years old, you might have a 90% chance of having damage to your rotator cuff. But, the young athletes, they rarely, if ever, fully tear their rotator cuff. They may get some fraying of it that causes them pain, but it's only the very old patients that tend to get full thickness tears of their rotator cuff in that proportion.
Any advice you can give to those of us out there that are getting towards the 90 years of age that keep the shoulders as healthy as possible?
Yeah, how do you stretch it besides arm circles?
You can go online and get some really good shoulder exercises off the website, but it's a matter of stretching and some basic rotator cuff exercises. If everybody would do that for warm up, that would be helpful. And then understand your limitations. When somebody's trying to max out weightlifting or in CrossFit or something, that's where they get injured. If they stay with reasonable amounts of exercise and weight, it's actually good for the shoulder. So it's all about moderation in your intensity and your workouts.
All about moderation. Always good advice for sure. He's Dr. Wendell Holmes from Prisma Health Orthopedics. Don't forget about their Black and Blue Clinic during football season, open Saturdays from 8 to noon. Up in the Northeast at 101 Business Park Boulevard. Dr. Holmes, even though you're a Clemson guy, we appreciate all the information and your time this morning, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. Good to talk with you.
You as well. Dr. Holmes, the team orthopedist for Newberry College and several local high schools, Lexington, Dutch Fork, Gilbert, Gray Collegiate as well, making sure all the youngsters stay as healthy as possible out there.
45.
That was good stuff, Patrick. When's the last time you did a shoulder warm-up or a rotator cuff deal, man? I used to do those all the time when I was growing up playing baseball and haven't done those nearly.
I feel it pop every once in a while.
30.
Turns me, but I never know what popping means. Never hurts.
A little
Never
fluid in the
feels
joint,
weird.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not talking about your dance moves, are you? Are you popping and locking?
Well, yeah,
Oh, wow.
that too. But that's obvious.
Of course, that's a given.
15.
Back into Carolina, Georgia talk. We'll start off with Clayton White, the defensive coordinator. He's got some guys he's taken into an alley with him. Fortunately for Gamecock fans, they're in a Gamecock uniform this Saturday. Hour 3 coming up.
This is Gamecock head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening.
I will say, of all of my orthopedic rehabs, and I've had several, rotator cuff, the worst. Absolutely the worst. So anything with the shoulder is just yucky.
No doubt. It's so complicated in there.
Mm-hmm.
I do not envy him dealing with shoulders every day.
Mm-mm.
I feel like the shoulder is hard to. Are you in a sling or what's the deal?
Right? I mean, to immobilize it, right? There's not much. I just did it right there, right? Just shrugging.
I mean, I assume they tell you don't lift heavy things with this, but it's just hard to not use your shoulder.
Right? I mean, washing your hair, pulling on the seatbelt. Like I've noticed,
getting up,
shoulder
get up
issues.
out of this chair, I'm gonna need to use my shoulders.
Right, pushing up off the chair. No,
Different ways to kind of position yourself to do that. Just have to think a little bit.
And sleeping, I can't sleep flat on my back.
Oh,
right.
That's the worst.
I think that's how I hurt mine. That's how old I am. Yeah, Craig, good call. Never do that. Jen,
No.
you would agree?
Yeah, 100%. There's a reason they're getting paid for that. I'm trusting they know what they're doing. I don't.
Ignorance is bliss, man. Ignorance is bliss. Maybe afterwards, if you're having issues and you got to try to figure out where they went wrong, maybe.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what they say, like afterwards, like, okay, this is what we did, this is what we did, but I don't need to see it.
My whole perception on doctors and surgery was just, I was so shocked when I found out that once they knock you out and they get you set up, they just like turn on music and start hanging out and just cut
they'll do that beforehand.
in the room.
Yeah.
That is
They're hanging out.
That is like going into the office for them, right?
Yep.
It's like firing up your office computer.
Yep.
Right. I always just assumed that it was dead quiet, scalpel, whatever. And
right. Very serious.
They're really just hanging out, having a grand old time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
just like what we're doing.
But in their defense, though, I would much rather have a surgeon who is calm and matter of fact and able to do that, as opposed to a guy. Quiet, everyone.
Right.
This is serious stuff.
But if they did happen to screw it up and I found out like you were playing turn down for what while you were messing with my shoulder and that's why.
Yeah, I don't want someone to say, can you hold that textbook up a little bit higher? No.
Right.
You want them chill.
So, did you see Terry McLaurin's catch from Sunday, Tim? Or Jen?
I did not.
Was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah?
I think I retweeted it. Yeah, it's my last tweet. Terrell Heineke just launched a moon ball to him, and he just, I don't know how he tracked it.
About the Orioles center fielder last night making that grab. Did you see that one? That was all over the social media.
Was Cedric Mullins?
What's that?
Was it Cedric Mullins?
Yeah.
He's a great story.
McLaurin fights through holding. It's 5 yards of separation over the inside shoulder, turned the body, kept the feet in. That's crazy.
Yeah, because we can't underestimate how restrictive a helmet is for being able to see things, especially when you turn your head.
Right. Especially in that position, man. Full speed, over the shoulder, turns back this way with the sideline right there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Thurman. Dr. James Andrews, that Dr. Holmes studied under, Dr. Guy. I mean, basically all the top guys do study under to some capacity. Was in his 70s back in 2009 when he did your surgery. Wow. Jen would like to start with Clayton White there, the last one, I think, on the sheet.
Yeah, number 9. Yep.
think so. Let me double check it.
Back alley guys.
Yeah.
So 2 breaks and we just won't have the Bill live, so that's all right.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Whoa, that's pretty cool. James Andrews wearing the ALCS ring when Thurman met him. They have a bunch of sports memorabilia there in Birmingham.
That's where his office is?
Mm-hmm.
I was in Florida.
You might have another one down there too, but I've always heard Birmingham. Everybody heads to Birmingham when there's an issue.
Isn't there a big-time doctor in Charlotte for some particular thing?
Not that I know of in sports. I know there are a bunch of, there's a children's center that's kind of renowned there, I think. And yeah, I've heard of some specific doctors in Charlotte that are the guys, but I don't remember hearing that in the sports context.
Top 19 specialists. Pittsburgh Medical Center, Iowa Sports Medicine Center, Minneapolis.
Welcome to the early game. 107.5 The Game with Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, and producer Jennifer Jensen.
A lot of good doctors in Pittsburgh, it appears.
For better or worse, it's the early game. Tim and Bill on 107.5 The Game.
I don't feel comfortable. I'm bringing Aaron Sterling. I'm bringing Brad Johnson, Sherrod, and that's about it.
5.
You said 2 or 3, so I'm gonna stop. I think I'm good if I got those 3 with me. I'll be all right. I promise you.
Defensive coordinator Clayton White for the Gamecocks yesterday's coordinator press conference. He brought it up about Aaron Sterling being that guy. If there might be some trouble, he's that guy. And so that was a follow-up question by the great John Whittle from the Big Spur. Who else might you add to that list if there was a bar fight? And then Clayton White said, whoa, I didn't say bar fight. And he put it up. He put it perfectly, I think. If you're in a dark alley, and you need to feel a little bit better about things. Those are his guys. Gamecock fans will need those guys and nearly every other guy in a Gamecock uniform to be back alley type guys and to do it smartly, as smart as possible in the massive challenge they have Saturday in Athens against the number 2 team in the country. And you could argue the team that has been most impressive so far this season. The Alabama performance against Miami was really good. But then, I mean, you hear Nick Saban do this all the time. What they did against Mercer was not going to be impressive no matter what they did. But the fact that they gave up a couple touchdowns and didn't please their coach has gotten some headlines in the college football world. I would put the UAB performance from Georgia in week 2 as more impressive than the Alabama performance against Mercer, and the win against Clemson more impressive than the win against Miami. So I would put Georgia as the most impressive team in the country right now. Patrick, is that fair?
Yeah, I would agree. But did you see the headlines about Nick Saban yesterday?
I feel like they're always the same thing, right? He's not
No,
with his team.
no.
What
This
was it?
not the same thing.
Was this the Eli thing? Was Eli Manning joining him in Eli's places?
No, one of his players was asked. Jordan Battle, safety, was asked what his favorite saying is.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, I think I can say it. I don't know if I can say it. You might want to check first. It's not. It's inappropriate, but it's not like a swear word. I'm saying it. He likes D's nuts jokes.
Yes, I did see.
Yeah.
I saw there's the impersonator you see online, Jolie Molinaro, I think is his name. Who does a great Nick Saban. I saw his parody of that, which was hilarious and spot on. His voice is amazing.
Yeah, he's got the cadence and everything down.
Yep.
But when Lane Kiffin did his press conference and said that he became a fan of those jokes when Marlon Humphrey got him one day a couple years ago. And ever since then, I just love the idea that Nick, of all things, that's what Nick Saban finds to be just hilarious. And it's always trying to get guys.
That is hard to believe in a lot of ways, but I guess maybe shouldn't be too surprising in the world of college football. And again, that is one of the things that this week is a great reminder to me of the beauty of college football, knowing what the spread is for Carolina and Georgia, but also knowing what happened last time, man. I think my mindset going into this game was very similar to where it is this year. And now I have an immediate reminder of how upsets happen in college football. Massive upsets happen in college football that don't make any sense on paper. I mean, Stanford, Southern Cal last week. That made no sense on paper. Jacksonville State, Florida State. I guess probably made a little bit more sense. There are plenty of examples all the time we get in college football, which is why I think most of us love it. One of the main reasons why a lot of us love college football. And I mentioned it earlier. I know you're a big Washington football team fan. You guys got a game tonight and the whole thing. But it's why I put college football above the NFL, because you don't have those stories in the NFL. Everybody's good in the NFL. You got the salary cap, you got parity, the league set up that way. It's its own brand of interesting because of that. But college football is just, to me, it's more of an American appeal with the underdog story and the whole thing. And you got 130 teams to choose from. So if you got a big mismatch one week, you can easily overlook that thing and just move on to the next one because something's going to pop up. Odds are every single week that you're just not expecting.
Unless you're at the game.
Right. If you're at the game and it's a blowout, then, you find other ways, I'm guessing,
I've been at a couple of those.
Enhance the experience, for sure.
Yeah. I've heard Bill talk a couple times about the Kenny Hill game, and just over before it started, and you feel like you've burnt.
That wasn't even one of those
$60.
cases, man. I guess that was the other way, maybe. South Carolina was favored going into that game. Texas A&M, the 2014 season opener, what Patrick is referring to, that gives Gamecock fans plenty of bad thoughts for sure. And that Patrick, my little spiel on that, I think is why Bill was so upset. Both Bill and I were so upset at you for your original take this week, is that you're ready for Carolina and Georgia to be over and move on from and the whole thing. Just ruling that out. And I get it from the NFL perspective. I get it from maybe you don't want to see what appears might be coming in a lot of ways. I mean, and Papa Joe went so far to say, do you think Shane Beamer is already accepting a loss this week? No, absolutely not. I mean, it's so far from the way that coaches and players have to think, competitors and the whole deal. But it's a completely different way than those of us from the outside can look at it as well. That's what makes, to me, the quarterback situation for the Gamecocks so interesting this week. And we talked it to death, Zeb Noland or Luke Doty, and I feel like that has calmed down for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Gamecocks are 2-0. Secondly, that Zeb Noland clearly appeared through 2.5, 3 quarters to not be a long-term solution last week. And why wouldn't you give a guy who is is somewhere close to him at least, if not ahead of him in a quarterback competition with a lot of years left in your college eligibility, why wouldn't you get that guy on the field? But now you're going up against, on paper, maybe one of the best college defenses that you've seen in a while, an Alabama-esque defense in Georgia, and with a mid-foot sprain, and Shane Beamer's talked about soreness and being 100% healthy and the whole thing. Why would you kind of risk that? I love Shane Beamer's line about whether it's Eastern Illinois, Georgia, or the Green Bay Packers. If he's 100% healthy, he's going to go. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how Carolina handles the quarterback situation with Luke Doty and Zeb Nolan this week. And again, Patrick, we hear comments from coaches, but they do their loudest speaking on Saturdays in between the lines with their play calling and their decisions about who plays and how much they play. How Zeb Nolan went 100% of that game last week at East Carolina with it very much in doubt. And I think those of you who think Carolina was holding anything back are crazy to think you would risk holding something back and risk losing at East Carolina in week number 2 of a new coaching staff tenure. I don't think that's how coaches think at all. I think that is wishful thinking at best from a fan perspective. But putting Luke Doty out there against this team in this situation seems less than ideal, let's say, in a big way from the Gamecock perspective. How are you seeing the quarterback deal this week, Patrick?
It's fascinating. I mean, they have said that when Doty is 100% ready, he will play. Doesn't matter who it's against. So if Zeb Nolan is the starting quarterback, then Luke Doty theoretically should not play at all, because that means he's, again, not healthy, which I think we're all deducing from last week. Zeb was not good for the first half, and if Doty was healthy, I'm thinking they would have put him in. But at this point, it could get ugly. You could be blanked halfway through the game or 3/4 into the game, and then what? Do you put in a 90% Luke Doty? They've said that they weren't going to do that, I feel like. So is this a chance where Jason Brown is the backup and we maybe see Jason Brown if things aren't going well? Or do they just stick by Zeb the entire game? I will be very intrigued, but I've still and always will be under – my opinion will be if Luke Doty is healthy and he's suited up and able to play, he should start the game. I don't like the idea of just throwing him out there and saying, good luck, after it's already 21-0 or whatever it might be.
Oh, absolutely. I think that would be worst case scenario, right? If it's that at that point, then that's the last.
Because if he doesn't start, that's what it would be, right? I mean, there's no reason to put him in if you're leading and Zeb's killing it,
right? Yeah, I think it's either kind of like it's been already in the first 2 games. Whoever starts, to me, I think is going to play the whole game, and
hopefully.
Yeah, right. Barring injury, I think is what you're saying,
or just things going really poorly.
Right. Well,
it's hard to keep putting a guy out there if it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
I mean, how much poorly did you want them to go against East Carolina? I think that's about as poor as it could go for South Carolina in that instance, being down 14-0.
Yeah. What is this text about? Did we just get a text about Jason Brown? I might have. What occurred to me last week was how bad does Jason Brown have to look in practice and not have played? That thought was going through my mind, too. I mean, mostly all I was thinking at East Carolina was, where's Doty? Where's Doty? Okay, at this point, he's definitely not healthy because he would have had to be out here by now. But they must, I mean, it's clearly in their minds, I think, such a substantial gap between Zeb and Doty and everyone else. So I'm kind of with you that whoever starts, if Doty's not ready and he doesn't start, we're not seeing anybody but Zeb. Maybe Joyner. I mean, they did give Joyner basically 2 plays. I don't know if they're prepared to give him more, but well, I would like to see them stick by that. If they're going to give Joyner a couple snaps, don't just put him out there for 2, punt from your own territory, and then say, well, that didn't work.
Scott,
give him another shot.
Scott adds, got to get Luke through this week healthy for Kentucky. I think that's a lot of Gamecock fans' mindset at this point. Marcus Satterfield mentioned it yesterday about the opportunity that DeCarrion Joyner might have against Georgia. I don't know how much is gamesmanship putting that out there, or how much that will actually come to reality. But I think no matter what happens, you're going to have to see DeCarrion Joyner throw the football if he's in that package at least a time or two, because it just has not worked with him being out there and trying to run the football. It just hadn't worked.
Isn't right. back to the got to get Luke through this week, healthy for Kentucky. Isn't that kind of the defeatist mindset? Aren't you kind of saying that if he's 100% healthy and ready for Georgia, and you're saying, nah, just get him ready for Kentucky, you're saying Georgia is a wash because you're not going to win that game anyway. That is the inference that I'm getting, right?
For sure. But
okay,
I think also it could be somebody hit us up and said, remember, Doty's only been out of a boot for 2.5 weeks. I think it's also kind of acknowledging 100% is a little bit of an extreme expectation for a guy who's coming back from that injury specifically. And the way that Shane Beamer's talked about the soreness, I mentioned that yesterday, how I just don't understand that, right? I mean, I was thinking about it even more, and I know some people weren't happy with me maybe and think I'm critical of the coaches. Again, these head coaches are in these positions sometimes. It's just what it is, right? When everybody that follows them and is a huge fan and supporter of their team wants to know exactly how healthy one of their players is, and it doesn't help them competitively at all. It actually hurts you if you're saying exactly what the injury is. It's a lot reminds me of the NHL playoffs where they never put any injury reports out in the playoffs because of the competitive disadvantage it would be. When I hear Shane Beamer talking about soreness in the foot, I was thinking about this. Like, if my 6-year-old tells me his foot is sore, I'm telling him, shake it off and play in tonight's little coach pitch game, man. Sometimes you're sore. And I never considered myself to be that really hard-line guy who's going to push people through injury. But soreness is part of life. And I think what Shane Beamer is really saying when he puts that out there is that it's not 100%, right? It's his way of doing that without putting a number to it or whatever. And the way that he's done that, I think, has laid the groundwork for Zeb Nolan to continue to be the starting quarterback this week, as opposed to hearing now I know he said that if he's 100% and we're expecting him to be 100%, but when you say that, you can always come back later and say, yeah, the foot is still sore, right? Or it just hasn't responded. It hasn't quite got to where we need it to be. I feel like that is the situation. One more week this week, I will have to hear Shane Beamer come into a press conference and say, yep, Luke's doing what we need him to do, I think, before I have confidence that he's going to be ready to be Carolina's starting quarterback, and clearly hasn't done that. Now, maybe he'll do that tonight on Carolina Calls. I don't know. I feel like we're going to have to hear that first from Shane Beamer before we end up seeing Luke Doty this year at quarterback, especially because of the situation you mentioned, Patrick. Absolute worst-case scenario, you wait until Zeb Nolan doesn't play well at Georgia, and if that happens, then you bring him in, and then I feel like you got very little to gain, or it's just a bad situation to put your young quarterback in.
And I don't know. I almost just wish that he wasn't in pads the last couple weeks, because it just, I don't know. It gives you the impression that or maybe he wants to play and he's saying, "Oh, I'm wearing pads. I'm gonna be one of the guys." Is that his way of being a leader, or if he feels like he's more involved if he's wearing pads? I don't know, but it gives the illusion that if need be, he could play. And I just feel like if that is the case, then he should be out there playing. So I don't know. What was the original timeline? Wasn't it like 3 to 6, 3 to 5 or something like that? What was the original timeline?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I thought the low end of it would have been a week 1 start, and the high end of it was Georgia.
Yep, I think originally maybe that's what it was. But, if we're going to go original, I think the original diagnosis was going to be possibly out for the season, right? And then more tests there. So I don't think there's ever been a hard number, the 3 to 5 time span, whatever it is, at least not one that I totally bought into because of the nature of this injury. I mean, remember that what the national outlets put, he had a sprained ankle or hurt his ankle, as opposed to the midfoot sprain that we have seen for Carolina quarterbacks. Look at Jake Bentley with the Liz Frank injury that kept him out for the season. Travis Etienne, Liz Frank, very similar. It's when your foot is stepped on as opposed to you stepping on someone else's foot. And it's all about the stability of that foot, which can be a really, really tricky thing. DC says, I feel like Zeb will start Saturday. David says, I start Doty in the friendly confines of Willie B. Should only consider putting him this week if Zeb gets hurt. Georgia's too strong to risk him getting hurt. Well, to me, David, that doesn't make any sense. If you don't want to risk Luke Doty's health, then you definitely don't put him in if your other quarterback just got hurt. I think that's when you go with Jason Brown and you just say simply, Patrick, I think I understand your frustration, but I think for the team standpoint, to have your leader out there in pads showing that he's doing everything he can to get back, and then it's just a coach or medical decision, that's a different deal than it is as a fan seeing a guy on the sideline saying, hey, man, why don't you put that guy in there?
I get that part of it. But that take from David to start him in Willie B, Georgia's too strong, if that is a more negative mindset than the one I have. Like I've been saying, I think Georgia will win. I think they're substantially better than South Carolina, but I still want to play Luke Doty because Luke Doty gives you that high upside chance that he can break a couple things. He can help the run game because of his own rushing ability. I want to see him out there. I mean, everyone in the SEC can hurt you if they tackle you. Like they're all big, strong guys. Just because Georgia's is better doesn't make him any more likely to get hurt in my mind. And I agree. If you put him in because Zeb got hurt, that's just way more counterintuitive than just not playing him at all. And if that's the mindset that the coaches have of, Georgia's too good. We don't want to get Luke hurt against these guys. We'll wait till he's in home. Well, then that is accepting defeat in my mind. And I don't think they're thinking that way.
Jody.
I hope they're not thinking that way.
Is anyone ever 100% healthy? That's a good point, Jody. Very good point. Corey says,
I've heard every NFL player all time say no one is ever 100% healthy going into a game.
Corey, if you're Doty, unless you're visibly favoring your foot, do you tell the coaching staff you're not feeling 100%? Corey, I don't think that's not the only information they're going on. And be very clear of this. Coaches, trainers, doctors know how truthful players are, specific players, especially a starting quarterback in the SEC. They know how to translate what they're hearing, right? There are some guys who absolutely will never tell you the truth and always tell you they're okay, right? And it's the guys of these experts, the medical experts, to translate that and to be brutally honest with the coaching staff and everybody else there and saying, I don't believe this guy or whatever it is. And it's also part of the maturation process, I think, from the athlete standpoint, especially with this deal, because somebody just hit us up and asked, wouldn't it have been a better option? Jan says, I'm beginning to wonder if it would have made more sense to repair his foot surgically. Is that or not? I think if that had happened, I think then you're absolutely out for the season. I think that's when you are admitting it's a Liz Frank fracture as opposed to a sprain, because there are no surgeries for sprains. Sometimes with really bad ankle injuries, you'll have to go in and do a ligament surgery, I think, but that's if the ligament, I think, is fully compromised as opposed to sprain. That's, again, why it's kind of tricky in this situation in multiple ways. We'll continue to break down Carolina and Georgia on a Thursday morning. For instance, Buddy B, a Georgia fan out there. I don't get this one. Well, I do. It just comes off as weak to me on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. That's so cute. The little train that thought he could. Go Dogs. I mean, Tyler had just hit us up and mentioned at the same time, actually, on the text line. What was the spread last time Carolina went to Athens? 21 to 24 points, I think. Yeah, it was. And that's why I said it's the biggest upset I've seen in my lifetime from the Gamecock perspective. And it's trying, in my head, it's keeping me from completely writing this game off, and a very good reminder of how you don't play the games on paper. Now, your confidence level is a different type of thing about going into this thing. Also, your expectation level, right? Because if you believe Shane Beamer and it's all about moving the program forward, then I think you do realistically kind of have to adjust your expectations from the Gamecock standpoint going into this game, as opposed to win or nothing. Well, what do you feel would be progress? What do you want to see from the Gamecock perspective against Georgia outside of being competitive and showing fight and all that thing? I'm talking about numbers and things we can quantify. You got some of that? Would love to hear it at 803-404-6100. You can call or text. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Didn't think about the rain. Didn't know the rain was an option. Muddy it up.
Great equalizer, huh?
Yeah. Let's get more than 60% chance. Monsoon.
Troy couldn't stand to hear 21 to 24 points on a spread 2 years ago. He had to give us the 22. Thank you, Troy.
Depends what day of the week you're looking at from 2019. I think every South Carolina fan would sign up for 3 hours of rain on Saturday night, right?
Oh, yeah. Kidding me? I can hear Barron now. One thing the Gamecocks don't want is a wet beast. A beast in a monsoon.
All I'm asking for is a 14-point game in the fourth quarter. Very fair. Just sounds brutal. Oh, yeah, the NFL is making an announcement about the future of Hard Knocks at halftime tonight.
Well, it means they're done doing it.
I don't know. Would they make a big thing to announce that they're canceling the show?
Well, what else would they do? That they're moving into
I hope
regular season?
I hope they cancel it. I can't think ratings were very good this year. Everyone that watched it said it sucked. I only watched 2 episodes because I didn't enjoy it.
And they always complain, right? That nobody wants to do it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Stranger Things have happened.
Yeah, you absolutely can't change quarterbacks at that point.
Well, he said Stranger Things have probably happened. Have they, though? I don't really think so.
No, they have not. I'm with you.
Nothing stranger has ever happened in college football than if Zeb Nolan wins the game on Saturday.
Oh, nice work, guys. If you're not signed up on the YouTube page, please do it. Please subscribe. We would appreciate it. Yes, it is, Troy. That is the football theory.
Well, the only defenses to not allow a touchdown this season, Georgia and Clemson. Through 2 games, still not allowed a touchdown. Tim, did you see Nina Kimes put a video on Twitter yesterday of Deanna Orlovsky barking like a dog?
No.
Look at that after the show. It's his hidden talent, and he can actually bark exactly like a dog to the point where all of the comments on her tweet were just people playing it for their dogs and their dogs freaking out. It's one of the strangest things I've ever heard.
What did you do it on?
Huh?
What did you see this on?
Mina Kimes' Twitter.
Gotcha.
She's just posting a sub video. She's like, all right, so I just discovered that Dan Orlovsky has the weirdest talent in the world. He can bark like a dog. And then he starts doing it, and it's shocking. I wouldn't want that talent, though.
Right. I wouldn't want that.
also see the if SEC coaches had other jobs?
Yeah, that was great.
Shane Beamer as a
Nice.
Chick-fil-A franchisee is actually one of the most accurate ones on the screen.
We definitely need to talk about that. Let's do it in this segment right now. All right, Jen, let's do some more audio coming back, please.
All right.
I think we've done pretty much everything for Satterfield, haven't we? Except for 6.
Correct. 6 and 7 are the only two we have not played. I know 7.
Okay. Let's do 6.
All right,
Straight
6
on
right
ends, cool.
All right. And then carry at 8:45.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I would say a layman would watch it and say they can't pass protect, but when you peel the layers back and you understand certain calls that are being made from the quarterback position, the communication between the quarterback, running back, offensive line, there were 2 snaps the other day that they weren't even bringing pressure, and the communication between the quarterback, O-line, and the running back, we slid the line one direction and didn't even block a defensive end. So when you don't block a defender, whether they're rushing 3 or 4, you're going to have quarterback pressure. And when it happens fast, you think, man, they can't protect. They don't know what, they're being overwhelmed, and that wasn't the case at all. Just it's communication. And then at the end of the game, they just started heating us up, 0 pressure. So they were always bringing one more than we could get, than we could protect. And you saw we were just taking shots down the field, and Josh was making plays. So we're still right on point in my opinion. As long as we continue to get our communication better, we have to eliminate
5
terrible positions like we did the other day early in the game. I mean, there shouldn't have been any pressure on 2 of those sacks that they had.
Gamecock offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield about the offensive line play through a couple of games. That was a Will Muschamp answer, wasn't it? To the layman, this is what it looks like.
Mhm.
I mean, again, I'm very thankful that we get the offensive coordinator's perspective. Patrick, I'm wondering if that makes you feel maybe even worse about what's happened through a couple of games, because if you can't communicate against East Carolina and the offensive line play, again, we got a similar explanation, I feel like, from Shane Beamer maybe after game number 1 with Eastern Illinois, where us as laymen weren't very impressed with the offensive line play from Carolina. Well, if it looks like that against those 2 opponents in the first couple of weeks, how is it going to look against Georgia? I guess maybe you could take the tack that, hey, they improved the communication, they have the athletes to do it, and maybe they just haven't shown it yet. But I think that's insulting our intelligence a little bit as football laymen.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. I don't know what answer he could have given that made us feel better. Maybe he could have just said, yeah, they're bringing pressure on every play, and Georgia's not going to do that, so we'll be okay, or I don't even know. There's not enough continuity. Continuity is very important on the offensive line, and these guys are still feeling each other out. There's really no good answer to give there when you just weren't consistently generating a push against East Carolina and Eastern Illinois. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, but I certainly can't imagine hearing that and then feeling good about, we'll be able to move the ball against Georgia. It'll be okay. They'll figure it out.
Well, let's be very clear. There is no coach in college football anywhere that's going to have great answers for their press conference leading up to Georgia about how the offense is going to be successful. None anywhere. I mean, even in theory, this is a difficult thing to do. So from the Gamecock perspective, I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt, what we're hearing. We heard similar thoughts from Shane Beamer about the evaluation of the offensive line. And that was the mystifying part 2 years ago, the last time the Gamecocks went over to Athens. Because it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like Georgia was, and kind of to Kirby Smart's point, his response earlier this week at his weekly press conference about what happened the last time, and he said it was more about Georgia than it was about South Carolina. I mean, I guess if you're going to question some effort along those lines because South Carolina, especially defensively, I thought won the line of scrimmage. And that was the complete head shaker at the time. Javon Kinlaw just wreaked havoc and completely dominated up the middle.
It was your blue chip guys that dominated that game. That's why I think Enikbare needs to win that matchup, and he needs to be a guy that's making a huge impact. Because, I mean, we can say Mukwamu, but when you watch that pick six, it was Kinlaw just throwing guys to the side, and he is the reason that was thrown. He hit Fromm, and Fromm just tossed it up there. And thankfully, Mukwamu was 6'4", but it was Javon Kinlaw that made that play. And then that touchdown from Ryan Helinski was Brian Edwards, your best receiver, probably your best offensive player that on that team, just going out there and making a play. So, I mean, your big-time players need to make big-time plays against the team that's as good as Georgia if you have any chance of winning or keeping it close.
And I'll go the other way as well. On the flip side of that, your guys who aren't blue chip guys, they need to play as well as absolutely possible and not make critical mistakes. Not make a mistake like first play of the game at East Carolina where you've been told they're going to try to do something a little tricky or try to hit you with a big play. That's exactly what they do, and it works to perfection for East Carolina, and it's absolute disaster for Carolina on the other side of it. 14 SEC coaches, 14 other careers if they weren't college football coaches.
16.
And you get the bonus.
Yeah.
You get the bonus of the Texas head coach and the Oklahoma head coach. Who do we need to give credit to this? Who did this perfectly yesterday on social media?
Great question. I'll find it.
I got the tweet right in front of me. It's coming from KD. I mean, just it says he's a racehorse owner in Atlanta, Tuscaloosa, and Liverpool is also in the Twitter bio. And just went
like viral.
A random fan who absolutely nailed it yesterday. And I hope you guys have seen it. I retweeted it. Patrick, you retweeted as well at Tim Hill 1075, where you can find me on Twitter. Patrick is at _Patrick Perrette. Let's start with Shane Beamer. You said, I mean, this was a headliner for a lot of people. So this is the coach's headshots, right? The professional headshots with the suit and tie on. Except everybody but Lincoln Riley has a suit and tie, about jacket and tie that I'm seeing. And Lincoln Riley, they say they put the title of youth pastor on his, which looks just perfect on there. Chick-fil-A franchisee is what Shane Beamer got.
I truly think that's the best one of any of them because he's got the big old smile there too, and he's just super friendly. You can just imagine my pleasure in everybody, or just the friendliest franchise you're ever gonna see. Like this franchise is built on peanut oil and family.
Wait a second.
Welcome home. Everybody walks in and he says, "Welcome home."
First of all, Shane Beamer's not that Southern. I mean, Virginia is not that far from where you are in Maryland, man. That's where he grew up. Come on, don't give me that.
He's got an accent.
Okay, yeah, he's got a tinge of a Southern accent, but no.
Might be a mountain accent.
Yeah, right. More of an Appalachian.
Yeah.
You gave him like a Savannah accent, man. Like
I'm not good at accents.
Mississippi. Okay. To me, there are three winners, three labels that were better than the Chick-fil-A franchisee with Shane Beamer. You want to go with three of your picks that you really liked before I'm going to go with four now that I see it again. I'm going 4.
I love Mark Stoops as a high school principal.
It's pretty good.
I really like that one.
Not in my top. Not in my top 4.
I feel like Sam Pittman as a competitive barbecue pitmaster.
Yes.
No one was ever made for a job more than Sam Pittman was made to either coach at Arkansas or cook barbecue.
Agreed.
Eli Drinkwitz as a tax accountant is a pretty good one because he looks like such a dork in that picture.
The glasses, the fake smile, and the suit. Perfect.
Yeah. And Mike Leach as a divorce attorney is pretty good too.
That is really
but
good.
He should be dressed more sloppily in his picture.
Agreed. Waste management and Ed Orgeron is amazing. And my number one in this thing, when I saw it, I had to look at it a few times just to make sure it wasn't actually a history teacher / coach with Kirby Smart. I think that is absolutely dead on for him. This thing is another example of how the internet is undefeated and it can come from anywhere. Again, a random I think, football fan out there just labeling all 14 SEC head football coaches. I mean, the others, if you haven't seen this thing, they're really good too. Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt coach, as a politician. Insurance agent is what Jimbo Fisher gets. Pharmaceutical.
I know
sales,
exactly
Lane Kiffin.
where this guy's head was at when he said Clark Lee as a politician too, because it was a character from House of Cards, because there's a bald politician in House of Cards that's like Frank Underwood's rival,
right?
And I just know for a fact that's exactly who popped in his head when he looks at Clark Lee.
Car salesman for Nick Saban. The only place where he went over the line was clearly at Texas with Steve Sarkisian being a DUI lawyer. The high school booster club president for Josh Heupel, amazing. And then again, the real estate agent for Dan Mullen. I think we've gotten through all 16 of these with the 2 bonuses of Lincoln Riley and Steve Sarkisian. Absolute gold.
I feel like I'm picking on Josh Heupel at this point, but he needs to stretch out his face. It's all squished together.
Rude.
His forehead's as big as his eyes to his chin.
All right. Mega church pastor, actually, Brian Harson from Auburn, the only one that I did not mention there. So you got all 16 of them now. Enjoy that if you haven't seen it. It was fantastic for sure. Going to have a fantastic segment coming up with a great guest, and Darlington Raceway President Kerry Tharp coming up next. Maybe he's got some ideas about SEC football coaches from back in his day when he used to be the longtime sports information director at the University of South Carolina. That's coming up next here. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. Free of charge. In your car. Free of charge. Online. Free of charge. On the app and
Yeah, what would Spurrier be?
From X's and O's about the offensive line to making fun of SEC football coaches on the internet. I think that was a well-rounded segment, sir. You look very intense over there, Patrick. Everything all right?
Mm-hmm. What would Spurrier have been?
Ooh, that's another great question.
Or Muschamp, I guess. Muschamp just looks like he was born to go to football, though.
Ooh, great questions. I think Spurrier, I would go with dive beach bar owner.
Yeah.
And Will Muschamp. I would go with, I almost said financial advisor. Didn't quite hit it.
Spurrier would be like a Margaritaville franchisee.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's a great one. Great one. Muschamp. Oh, motivational speaker, pretty good. I like Gabe's suggestion. Bail bondsman, that's pretty good. Anthony. I'm guessing that would have been Mark Richt if he would have been on there back in the.
I mean, most of these guys, the profession underneath their face suits them more than coaching football.
For sure. Jimbo Fisher, especially, is the one
who looks the least like they should be an SEC football coach.
That's easy. Drinkwitz, right?
Yeah. I would. Leach, Drinkwitz, Riley, Beamer, and Kirby all look out of place coaching football.
No, not Kirby. Come on. Maybe big time college football. He just looks like he looks like a middle school coach to me.
His hair just drives me nuts.
No way Muschamp would be a military officer. Not with a haircut.
Dude, if USC wins, I'll shave the stash immediately.
Done. On social media, right? You'll put it on the YouTube page. We'll do a live stream of that.
As soon as the game ends, I will shave it on the live stream.
Perfect. We'll get Bill to wager something outlandish as well. Ooh, that's pretty good. Sam, I think Sam nailed it right there. That's beautiful.
I like that. Yeah.
Excellent work, Sam. Matt, thanks for the heads up. I didn't know there was a Nick Saban Mercedes dealership.
But Nick Saban's got that sweet Mercedes van.
Oh, yeah.
Like they made one special, like the Nick Saban.
Yeah, see, I was thinking financial guy. Jason says a mortgage broker for Muschamp. See that?
What are Shane Beamer's measurables?
Beamer, he's a little bit bigger than me, I think. I think he's right at 6 foot. I would guess 190.
Yeah, I mean, I stood next to him at the golf tournament, and he's just.
You don't think he's quite that tall? Maybe 5'11"?
I don't know about height, maybe, but there's like, yeah, he's not sniffing 200 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say 190 at most. Maybe in much better shape than I am, but I'm a kind of a fat 190 sometimes. An out of shape 190. The old fat skinny guy. A lab court pickup guy? I don't even know what that means.
Picking up blood samples?
Right. I like the middle school PE teacher. I could see that out.
Well, that would just mean he was like, yeah, that's what every football coach's backup plan is.
Right. And to me, RL, he would be the guy who wanted to be the military officer, but that just didn't quite make it up the ranks. Like the discharged military officer.
Yeah, he was too much of a loose cannon.
Right. Well, there were a couple of incidents where the line might have been crossed. See, now you're getting rude. Funny though. Junior ROTC guy? Is that what that was? That's pretty good. But again, I feel like those guys are short hair moving on that way.
All right, Carrie's ready.
All right, can we do one last one here, Jen?
Yep.
Let's do number 7.
Okay.
Thank you. And got a great sport court set up for tomorrow, Patrick. It's going to be a fun one.
Energy. We just have to do a great job as a program and understanding our process and trying to channel that passion and energy in the right direction. And that's going to continue to take all of us to continue to get that done for Cam. But what he's meant for us is he's given us the opportunity to one that we feel like that can go out and play a lot of snaps against really good receivers, and along with Dial and Rush, really good job. But Cam has brought those guys along, and he has a little bit more experience, but it's nice having them back there.
Carolina defensive coordinator Clayton White on Cam Smith, a couple of unsportsmanlike penalties last week. I'm guessing maybe the Tony Stewart or Kyle Busch version, the NASCAR version on the South Carolina football team. That's the two worlds that are combined right now as we're out to the Love Chevy phone lines now, joined by our favorite Darlington Raceway president, Kerry Tharp, former USC Sports Information Director as well. Kerry, what do you think? Who's been the biggest challenge in your time around NASCAR to get a handle on their emotions most consistently?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Both Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart were certainly interesting characters, and certainly Kyle still is. Tony was a guy that, wore his emotions on his sleeve. We're getting ready to race at Bristol coming up, and I'll never forget the night that Tony got wrecked by, I think it was Matt Kenseth maybe. And he got out of the car and picked up his helmet and slung it. I mean, it was a fell-top fastball that he threw and hit Kenseth's car as he was coming around caution lap. So somewhere that helmet is in somebody's Hall of Fame somewhere probably. But, a lot of emotions and a lot of characters in the sport. But the two that stick out in my mind, since I've been involved have been Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch for sure.
All right. I'm shocked that I got that one right. Thank you for the kudos on that one, Kerry. I'm guessing maybe a little celebrating your way. It's announced 2 more races coming to Darlington next year, right?
Oh, no question. You know, we're just coming off a very successful Labor Day race weekend just a couple of weeks ago. And lo and behold, yesterday it was announced that we'll have 2 more races once again in 2022. And that's very, very exciting for us. It's a big deal for the state. It's a big deal for the region. And certainly a big deal for Darlington Raceway to know that for the 2nd year in a row, and many aspects, the 3rd year in a row, we're having 2 race events. You know, we're just finishing up, closing the chapter on the previous race that we just had a couple of weeks ago, and we're already meeting on May's race right now. In fact, I got some meetings this afternoon to talk about our throwback weekend for 2022. So I love the fact that we're going to have 2 races once again next season.
Speaks volumes for what you and your team accomplished, for sure.
Yeah, we got to know the behind the scenes, Kerry. What was the celebration like? You got champagne popping last night, a celebratory dinner? What's going on?
No, nothing along those lines. But it was, Jen makes a good point. We do have a great team. I was up in Richmond this past weekend with many of the same people that worked our race, and they had a great race up there too. So, it's just one of those deals where you put together a great plan and you love to see it come to fruition. And no real celebration yet. We'll probably save some of that when we go to Nashville for the banquets this year. I would suspect that there could be a little celebrating there. But right now we're, like I said, trying to close the chapter on this race that just finished up, and all sights ahead now for our May event.
And speaking of that, we need to move on here with just about a minute left in this segment with your picks for this week. NASCAR moving from Richmond to Bristol, and it looks like the gap has narrowed. Reggie Anderson actually got the winner of last week's race with Martin Truex Jr., so he's still in 4th, but creeping up on you, Kerry. You're in 3rd, just a few points behind Jen, who has 10 points behind Bill in our pick segment. Who are you going with for Bristol this week?
Well, we talked about him a little while ago, and he's a really, really good racer at Bristol. I'm going to go with Kyle Busch to win Saturday night at Bristol.
Impressive pick. I see Jen giving a smile of some sort, kind of an acknowledgement that, that was probably the right pick. Where are you going, Jen?
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Boy, Denny Hamlin, he's awful good here. Chase, has been top 5. I don't know. I think Chase is hungry. I think I'm going to go Chase Elliott. Probably going to regret that, but that's where I'm going.
There you go.
Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. Patrick, you want to step in and make a pick for Bill?
Yeah.
That sounds like a no.
Yeah, Kyle Busch.
Nope,
too
we
late.
already have Kyle Busch.
Sir.
Kyle's already been picked,
only
Patrick.
guy I know.
Only
the only guy I know.
He did it perfectly. He did it for Bill, which means he embodied the spirit without the braggadocious theatrics to go along with it. We'll let Bill send in his pick so he can't complain too much.
Kurt Busch still race?
Yep, you're doing it just like him. Perfect.
Wow, that's great.
Kerry, congratulations on the good news for Darlington there and getting a couple of more races for next year. We appreciate the time as always, and I'm hoping Kyle Busch will win so you can continue
45.
to climb the ladder there and get back in this picks contest.
I'm good with that completely.
Sounds good. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Darlington Raceway President Kerry Tharp, Kerry_Tharp, where you can find him on Twitter. You can find our station at 107.5 The Game, and
30.
That'll do it for the early game here this morning. Patrick, nice work over there, especially in that NASCAR segment, man. Really nailed it.
Man,
Yeah,
strong stuff.
Taylor Heineke time.
All right, Washington football team. You guys beware if Washington
15.
don't beat the Giants tonight. We're going to get a bitter Patrick Perrette in the
And he'll
morning.
be in studio.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
take it
just
over.
yell at Bill.
Oh, that's good. I'm good with that. Thanks for listening to the early game. Dan Patrick Show coming up next.
This is Todd Ellis, and you're listening to the home of the.
Oh, live streamers, thanks for hanging with us. Sorry about that. That any better now? Sometimes it just passes out on me, the audio. Let's see, comments we got here. Yeah, Hope, nice job getting us up to 8:34. Jen, what are you showing us?
That's awesome. Just behind the scenes, but kind of for Patrick. See the yellow buttons, Patrick? That's your sport
Yeah,
court,
that's-
open and close.
Okay.
And people get to see the magic because that's so exciting.
Nice. Anthony, see you tomorrow. DC, nice work. Alan, Troy, appreciate you guys and the help making today that much better.
Yeah,
We'll
good
try to
stuff.
do it again tomorrow. Sport court. What will it take for the Gamecocks to get bragging rights on Clemson versus Georgia? That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow on Sport Court. We got an expert witness lined up already. We'll see if Bill will be back feeling well enough. Otherwise, Patrick, it's you and me getting after it.
That should be fun.
Jen, we will see you again on Tuesday. Is that correct?
Should be Tuesday.
Tuesday. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, live streamers. See you again in the morning.